My name is Christine, and I'm 41 years old. I'm a housewife. I met my husband, Mark, at work, and we got married. After 5 years of being married, we had our son, Jake, who is now 5. He's at a really cute age, and I'd love to spend all day with him if I could, but we need money, so I have to work and leave him at daycare. One day, Jake asked, "Mommy, I want an omelette tomorrow." How could I say no to that? Maybe Jake understands how busy I am, because he never asks for difficult meals. I'm not a great cook and don't make fancy dishes, but I think omelets are hard to make. Getting them just right takes skill, but I'm probably just making excuses. Mark was really happy when Jake was born. After waiting for so many years, he was our miracle. We were a close family, always going on drives and trips to the park every weekend, but when Jake turned 3, things started to change. Once Jake grew out of his terrible threes, Mark started coming home later and later. Before that, he used to complain about how hard it was to deal with Jake being fussy, and maybe that's why he stayed out more. Whenever he'd call to say he was working late, I couldn't help but feel disappointed. I knew the truth, Mark wasn't really working late. He was spending time at slot machines, in restaurants, or at the movies. One of Mark's colleagues, who is also one of my old coworkers, told me, "I quit my job after we got married, but I still keep in touch with some of my old colleagues." Mark knows I found out, but he doesn't care. Part of me feels upset about this, but I would rather he be out late than see him get annoyed with Jake's behavior. But Mark started coming home even later, sometimes in the morning. Who does he think he is? Sometimes I could smell perfume on his suit, and it didn't make me feel good. It made me angry. Mark was a good father when Jake wasn't being difficult, so I let it slide. But now, 2 years later, Jake is a cheeky 5-year-old, and I'm tired of Mark's bad attitude. One day, Jake spilled a bit of tea and I said, "Oh no, wait here while I get a cloth." Mark yelled at me, saying, "What's wrong with you? You're 5 years old and can't hold a cup properly?" Jake asked, "Daddy, play with me," but Mark yelled back, "I'm busy, don't bother me." When I asked about dinner, Mark just said, "I don't need dinner," and left. How am I supposed to eat peacefully in a house like this? I don't even want to eat his badly cooked food, I just go out instead. Mark gets mad about everything I say. I suggested, "We should go somewhere on your next day off," and he snapped, "Are you serious? I'm tired from work. Let me rest on my day off." No matter what I say, he just yells. We can't have a normal conversation. It's like Mark is still in his fussy phase, and he's 40 years old now. One time, I asked Mark why he was always so angry, and he yelled back, "It's because you're useless, obviously, and now you're passing that on to Jake. I wish he was more like me." That really hurt. Jake is our son, both of ours. At least Jake has my good looks. Mark was acting like all of Jake's good qualities came from him, and the bad ones were from me. I couldn't believe how rude he was. I kept getting more frustrated with Mark. His words and actions were hurting me emotionally. I even thought about divorcing him. His behavior was close to ending our marriage, but I stayed because I still loved him. Even though Jake was scared of Mark, he still loved him too. I was so tired of being with a husband who was always in a bad mood, but I didn't have the courage to break up our family. One day, Mark brought up something. "A trip," he said. "What?" I asked. "Yeah, a trip with some coworkers. You know them, right? The 2 guys who love their single life?" "Oh, those guys. Yeah, they're going on a trip, and I decided to join them." "Seriously?" I said, shocked. "What's the problem? I've been patient for so long. This family takes up all my time. I never get time for myself, and you spend all the money I earn on useless things. I deserve to relax sometimes. I don't spend money on luxuries. We live very frugally because you only give me the minimum amount of money," I said. This was the truth. I worked hard and made money, but the more I worked, the less Mark contributed to our family. I actually put more money into the household than he did. He was probably spending his money on other things, which is why he could afford the trip. "Shut up. I'm going on the trip in 4 weeks, whether you like it or not, and you better not complain," he said. "Tomorrow." I was shocked by the trip, but even more surprised that it was happening so soon. Tomorrow. I felt my anger rising, and I was about to argue, but then I heard, "Mommy." It was Jake, who was supposed to be asleep. I rushed to him. "I'm sorry, Jake, did I wake you? Let's go back to your room, and I'll sleep with you." But as soon as I touched him, I knew something was wrong. "Jake, you're burning up. My head hurts, Mommy," he said. I looked at Jake's face, and then suddenly, his eyes rolled back, and he collapsed. I panicked and called an ambulance. Mark, who I thought would come with us, refused. There was so much I wanted to say, but I didn't have time to argue. I had to go to the hospital alone. Thankfully, Jake's test results showed nothing serious, but they kept him in the hospital for more tests, just to be safe. I called Mark to update him. "What do you want?" he answered, sounding annoyed. I could tell he was irritated, but I didn't have time to care. I told him what had happened and asked him to bring a change of clothes for Jake. "Are you joking?" he replied. "I can't make it," he said. "What do you mean?" I asked. "I said I can't make it. I'm not going to be late for tomorrow's trip. I'm staying with my colleague tonight," he told me. "Are you serious? Your son is in the hospital, and you're still going on a trip?" I asked, shocked. "Of course, he doesn't need me for a simple checkup. He's just got a fever. There's nothing I can do." "Yes, there is," I said. "I've gotta go. I'll bring you a souvenir," he added, then hung up. I tried calling him again, but he had turned off his phone. My anger boiled over, and I had no choice but to call my parents for help. Mark had abandoned his son in the hospital. That was 2 strikes. The 3rd strike was coming soon, and I could feel it. 3 days later, the tests were done, and Jake was back to his energetic self. He'd be discharged tomorrow. I planned to buy him some pudding, but when I checked my phone, it started vibrating. I almost dropped it, but I grabbed it in time. It was a call from Cindy, a former colleague. "Hello?" I answered. "Christine, where are you?" she asked urgently. "Huh? I'm at the hospital," I replied. "Never mind that. There's an emergency. Your husband's been in an accident and passed away," she said. I didn't understand. I thought she was joking. "What? This is a joke, right?" I said. But her voice on the other end was serious, and I started running in panic. My husband had died. That was shocking enough, but Cindy continued. "Apparently, Mark was on a trip with a woman, and she drove into oncoming traffic and hit a tree." I couldn't believe it. Mark was supposed to be with his male colleagues, not with a woman. It didn't make sense. It couldn't be true. I called my parents to ask them to look after Jake, then rushed to the hospital where Mark was. I couldn't help but wonder why they had called the company before me. It seemed like the news wasn't a lie, so I had to hurry. Cindy said the other men Mark was supposed to be with were safe. Of course, that meant Mark wasn't with them. He'd been with another woman. That was 3 strikes. 3 strikes and you're out. I needed to find out for sure if Mark was really dead. I rushed to the hospital. "Honey," I called as I opened the hospital room door. There was Mark, lying in bed. His hands and feet were wrapped in bandages, but he was breathing. Cindy's news was wrong. Mark was alive. I sighed in relief. "You're alive," I said, moving closer. When I looked at his face, his eyes were slightly open. He seemed shaken, probably surprised that the company had contacted me so quickly. Mark grumbled. "Took you long enough. Your husband's in an accident, and it takes you ages to get here, you useless piece of..." At least he was still his usual self. He looked pretty hurt, but it seemed he had only broken his left hand and right leg. The car was wrecked, though. What luck he had. "I'm glad you're okay," I told him, and he replied, "You better take good care of me." Well, looks like he's feeling fine, I thought to myself. Good to know. I pulled out a piece of paper. "Let's get to it. You may have escaped death, but you don't get a pass on 3 strikes. When I say I'm glad you're okay, I mean your right hand. If you had broken that, you wouldn't be able to sign these papers." Mark looked confused. "What are you talking about?" I unfolded the papers in front of him. "Huh? What's this?" "Divorce papers," I said calmly. "I've been preparing these, which is why I'm late getting here. I know you're hurt, so I'll just leave them here. Make sure you sign them." Mark was shocked. "You're joking. Why would I sign this?" "Wow, you told your girlfriend you were getting a divorce, didn't you?" I asked. "The reason you were coming home late every night was because you were with her, wasn't it? Was this trip your little getaway to prepare for your new life? Well, now you can marry your sweet Michelle." "How do you know her name?" he asked, clearly surprised. "I spoke to her, of course. Before coming to see you, I went to visit the woman you were with in the hospital. She was in the same place, recovering from the accident too. She had broken a few bones, but she seemed in better shape than you. Her parents were there with her." I explained to her everything I needed to know. I couldn't tell her I was coming to see Mark, But I had to find out if he was dead or alive. It turned out, he was alive. Even though her parents were asking her questions, she looked at me with a glare and said, "Let him go. I don't understand why you're sticking with him. He doesn't pay his bills. He's out every night. He doesn't even care about his kid in the hospital. And the cheating? It's over." Mark's face went pale. I had expected him to argue, but I wasn't changing my mind. No, she's just for fun," Mark quickly said. "You're the only one I love." "Just stop," I said. "Here's the paper. I've already filled out my part. Even if you tear it up, I've got more copies. Actually, I could just call a lawyer." "A lawyer?" he said, confused. "That's right. We need to talk about alimony and child support, so we should get a lawyer involved." "No, wait a second," Mark said, starting to panic. "What did you just say?" "Think about it. You can keep living your life however you want, spending your money on whoever you like, but if you want to stay with me, you'll have to keep playing your little games with women, while I take care of everything. You'd have a wife at home for security and a girlfriend for fun, but if we get divorced, all that changes, right?" Mark couldn't say anything. He just stared at me in shock, completely silent. "Sorry to break it to you, but your perfect plan is ruined. You can start a new life with Michelle or whoever you want, but my son and I won't be part of it. Just pretend you died and start fresh." I said everything I wanted to say and started to leave the hospital room. Wait. I heard Mark's pathetic voice calling behind me, but I just kept walking. In the following days, I hired a lawyer and started the divorce process. Michelle was discharged from the hospital, and she got involved in the talks too. When Mark said he didn't want a divorce, Michelle got furious. They argued loudly. When I mentioned alimony, Michelle yelled, "You've ruined my life." "I don't care about someone who gets involved with married men," I snapped back. "You're the one who went after me." "Shut up," she shouted. "I never did that," Mark said, trying to defend himself. I thought, can you just sign the papers already? I stayed silent as I watched them argue. Despite Mark's resistance, the evidence was clear. In the end, our divorce was finalized, and I got almost all the alimony I asked for. The child support was paid in a lump sum. Once everything was settled, my lawyer and I left, but Mark and Michelle were still arguing. I wondered how their relationship would survive after this, but honestly, I didn't care. Before leaving, I told them, "I hope you two have a nice life together," which might have been a bit petty, but I didn't mind. I just hoped Jake wouldn't pick up on my petty behavior. Despite everything that had happened, Jake and I found peace again. He was so much happier now that he didn't have to deal with Mark's moods. It made me regret not divorcing earlier. Mark's attitude had caused both of us so much pain. How had I stuck with such a terrible husband for so long? Living just with Jake, I realized something. We were better off without Mark. Every day was now filled with joy. That said, Mark would always be Jake's father. If he wanted to see him, I would let him. I asked Jake, "Do you want to see Daddy?" "No," he answered. "Why not?" I asked. After the divorce, I confirmed that the alimony and child support payments had been made, then sent Mark an email. He replied right away with the subject, "Help." I opened it and couldn't help but laugh. Mark's former colleague had spread the news about his cheating to the whole company, and now Mark was dealing with the gossip and stares. He was making mistakes at work and eventually had to leave the company. "My parents have cut me off. I have nowhere to go. Please help me." Can you believe it? Being the kind person I am, I replied, "Why don't you ask your sweet Michelle to help you?" And guess what he said? "I broke up with Michelle. Her parents cut her off too, and now she's missing. I've finally realized, you're the only one I love. Please help me." His message continued. "I'm behind on my cell phone bill, and it's going to get cut off tomorrow. Please come pick me up." I blocked him after that. We had moved by then, and he didn't know where we were. As I sat down with my tea, Jake came over and asked, "What should we do tomorrow, Mommy?" I thought for a moment. "How about I pack us some lunch, and we go to the aquarium?" Jake's face lit up. "I want to go to the dolphin show." Seeing how happy Jake was, I couldn't help but smile.
"You're not family anymore." The words still echo in my head, even after all these years. My sister Claire spat them at me as I lay in the hospital bed, my body aching from the bone marrow extraction that had just saved her daughter's life. I'm Esme, and that day marked both the end and beginning of everything I'd worked for. The irony wasn't lost on me. a fourth-year medical resident, top of my class, giving up my career to save my niece, only to be cast aside like yesterday's newspaper. "Dr. Ward, your post-op vitals are stable," the nurse said, checking my charts. "Dr. Matthews wants to discuss your recovery timeline." I already knew what he'd say. The complications from the donation had caused permanent nerve damage in my right hand. A surgeon with tremors isn't exactly in high demand. "Send him in," I managed, trying to sit up straighter despite the pain shooting through my back. Dr. Matthews entered, his face grave. "Esme, I've reviewed everything with the team. The damage is significant. I'm so sorry, but continuing your residency won't be possible." I nodded, having already accepted this reality the moment I'd agreed to the donation. I know Remy needed it. She's responding well? Yes, remarkably so. Your sister's family just left to see her in pediatrics. Without saying goodbye to me, of course. Classic Claire. The next few days passed in a blur of physical therapy and paperwork. My colleagues stopped by, their faces a mixture of pity and discomfort. Devi, my closest friend from residency, was the only one who didn't treat me like I was made of glass. "This is bullshit," she said, perching on the edge of my bed. "Claire hasn't even come to see you?" "Nope. Apparently saving her daughter's life wasn't enough to warrant a thank you card. What did Emiliano say?" I laughed bitterly. "Nothing. He's too busy protecting his precious reputation at the hospital to acknowledge the resident who torpedoed her career for his kid." A knock at the door interrupted us. To my surprise, it was Remy, my 14-year-old niece, looking pale but alive. So wonderfully alive. "Aunt Esme?" Her voice was small, uncertain. "Can I come in?" "Of course, sweetie." I patted the bed, ignoring the pain the movement caused. She sat down, fidgeting with her hospital bracelet. "Mom said..." "She said I shouldn't visit you, but I had to say thank you." My throat tightened. "You never have to thank me for this, Remy. Never." "But your hand..." She glanced at my trembling right hand, tears welling in her eyes. "Hey, look at me." I waited until she met my gaze. "You're worth it. Every bit of it." The door burst open and Claire stormed in, her face flushed with anger. "Remy, what are you doing here? I told you to stay in your room." "Mom, I just wanted... out. Now." Claire's voice was ice cold. Remy gave me one last tearful look before shuffling out. I met my sister's gaze. "Really, Claire? You're going to keep her from seeing me? You've done enough damage." She crossed her arms. "Always the martyr, aren't you? The perfect aunt, the brilliant doctor, sacrificing everything. Well, guess what? Nobody asked you to do this." "Nobody asked me." I struggled to keep my voice steady. "You begged me to get tested as a donor. You cried in my arms when I matched. And now you'll hold it over our heads forever." Poor Esme, who gave up everything for us. I won't have Remy feeling guilty her whole life because her aunt couldn't be a doctor anymore. That's what this is about? Your pride? This is about moving forward. Clean breaks heal best. Isn't that what they taught you in medical school? Her lips curved in a cruel smile. Though I suppose that knowledge won't be much use to you now. I felt something inside me shatter. Get out. Gladly. "And Esme?" She paused at the door. "You're not family anymore. Stay away from us." After she left, I lay back, my hand trembling worse than ever as I pressed the morphine pump. The medicine dulled the physical pain, but nothing could touch the ache in my chest. That night, I made two decisions. First, I would leave this city and everything in it behind. Second, I would find a way to make my voice heard, to ensure no other medical professional would have to choose between saving a life and losing everything. As I packed my meager belongings the next day, Devi helped me organize my discharge papers. "What will you do now?" she asked softly. I looked at my shaking hand, then at the hospital room that had been my home for the past week. "I'm going to change things. The whole system needs an overhaul, and I'm going to make it happen. How? I don't know yet, but I've got nothing left to lose, and everything to prove." I smiled grimly. And someday, Claire's going to realize exactly what she threw away. Little did I know then just how prophetic those words would prove to be. And that's why we need comprehensive protection for medical professionals who become patients themselves, I concluded, stepping away from the podium to thunderous applause. Another successful testimony before the State Health Committee. 7 years can change everything. The trembling doctor had become a force in healthcare policy, though my right hand still shook when I was nervous. You killed it in there. Reagan caught up with me in the hallway, her heels clicking against the marble floor. The committee members were practically eating out of your hand. Let's hope it translates to actual votes, I said, checking my phone. 3 missed calls from unknown numbers. Probably more desperate healthcare workers seeking advice. Any word on the Thompson bill? It's looking good. Your story about the resident who lost her license after developing PTSD from a workplace assault really moved them. I smiled grimly. Sometimes the truth is all you need. We headed to our favorite coffee shop across from the Capitol building. Reagan had been my rock these past few years, from the day she'd hired me as a healthcare policy consultant to now, when we ran our own advocacy firm together. Speaking of truth, Reagan stirred her latte. Have you seen the latest medical malpractice statistics? Don't tell me they're getting worse. Afraid so, especially in private practices where doctors are trying to handle too many patients. She pulled out her tablet. There's one case making headlines, a doctor named Emiliano. I choked on my coffee. Emiliano? As in Emiliano Stevenson. You know him? He's my former brother-in-law. I hadn't spoken his name in years. What kind of case? Multiple patients claiming negligence. It's not looking good for him. Reagan studied my face. Are you okay? You've gone pale. Before I could respond, my phone buzzed. Unknown number again. Something made me answer it. Is this Esme? The voice was familiar, yet different, older. Remy? My heart skipped a beat. Aunt Esme, I saw you on TV. Your speech about healthcare reform, you were amazing. I gripped the phone tighter, ignoring Reagan's concerned look. Thank you. How are you? I'm good. I'm actually pre-med now. She laughed nervously. Inspired by you, I guess. Remy, that's wonderful. My throat tightened. Does your mother know you're calling? No. Mom and Dad are. They're not doing great. The malpractice stuff. I've heard about it. I kept my voice neutral. Is that why you're calling? Sort of. Mom's been talking about reaching out to you. She thinks you might be able to help with your connections and everything. Of course she did. 7 years of silence, and now she needed something. Listen, Remy. I know it's not fair, she interrupted. What they did to you wasn't fair, but Dad might lose everything, and Mom? I've never seen her like this. I closed my eyes, remembering Claire's words. You're not family anymore. I have to go, Remy. Take care of yourself. Wait. I hung up, hands shaking worse than usual. Want to talk about it? Reagan asked quietly. Not really. I stood up. We should head back. The committee vote is in an hour. But Reagan wasn't letting it go. You know, your personal story is what makes you so effective. The doctor who sacrificed everything for family, only to be abandoned. It resonates with people. It's not a story, it's my life. Exactly. And now the universe is giving you a chance to write the ending. I laughed bitterly. What by helping the people who threw me away? By showing them exactly who you've become. Reagan leaned forward. Think about it. 7 years ago, you were a broken resident in a hospital bed. Now you're testifying before state committees, changing laws, saving careers. Let them see that. You want me to help Emiliano? After everything? I want you to do whatever will give you peace. She gathered her things. But remember, sometimes the best revenge isn't destroying your enemies. It's succeeding despite them. Back at the office, I stared at the wall of framed newspaper articles about our advocacy work. Former doctor transforms healthcare policy. Medical advocate wins landmark case. Healthcare reform champion speaks at national conference. My phone buzzed again. This time it was Claire's number. I let it ring 4 times before answering. Hello, Claire. Esme. Her voice was smaller than I remembered. I need your help. Funny how that works. I traced the tremors in my right hand. 7 years of silence, and now you need my help. Please, just meet with me. Let me explain. I thought about Remy, about karma, about revenge served cold. Okay, I said finally. Tomorrow, my office, 9 a.m. And Claire? Yes? Bring your checkbook. Nothing in life is free. You taught me that. I hung up before she could respond, a plan already forming in my mind. Claire wanted my help? Fine. But this time, I'd make sure she understood exactly what family loyalty cost. Claire arrived 10 minutes early, looking exactly as polished as I remembered, though worry had etched new lines around her eyes. She sat across from my desk, fidgeting with her designer handbag, a nervous tic she'd had since childhood. Nice office, she said, glancing at my credentials on the wall. You've done well for yourself. No thanks to you. I kept my voice professional, distant. Tell me about Emiliano's situation. It's bad. She pulled out a thick folder. 3 patients are claiming he missed crucial diagnoses. One of them. She swallowed hard. One of them died. And now you want me to what? Wave my magic advocacy wand and make it all go away? I want you to help me understand how to fight this. Her voice cracked. They're saying he was overwhelmed, taking too many patients to maintain our lifestyle. Like he chose money over proper care. Did he? Claire flinched. He's a good doctor. So was I. I held up my trembling right hand, until I chose family over career. Funny how life works out, isn't it? Esme, please, I know I hurt you. Hurt me? I laughed, the sound sharp enough to make her wince. You destroyed everything I had and then abandoned me. Because what? You couldn't handle feeling indebted to your little sister? I was wrong. The words exploded from her. Is that what you want to hear? I was wrong and proud and stupid, but right now my husband might go to jail. Our whole life is falling apart. I leaned back in my chair, studying her, the great Claire, finally admitting she was wrong. But was it genuine remorse or just desperation? Your whole life? I pressed the intercom. Reagan, bring in the file we discussed. Reagan entered moments later, handing me a manila envelope before giving Claire a cold look and leaving. What's that? Claire asked. An invoice. I slid it across the desk. For my services, both past and future. She opened it, her face paling. $2 million? Are you insane? Actually, I'm being quite reasonable. I ticked off points on my fingers. Lost medical career earnings. Student loans I'm still paying off for a degree I can't use. 7 years of therapy. Oh, and let's not forget the actual medical bills from the donation complications. We can't possibly. Can't? I pulled up some figures on my tablet. Your house is worth $1.5 million. Emiliano's practice before this scandal was valued at $3 million. Plus your investment portfolio. I smiled thinly. You can afford it. You're really going to make me pay for saving my daughter's life? No, Claire. I'm making you pay for what you did after I saved her life. I stood up, walking to the window. The donation was free. The betrayal, that comes with a price tag. And if we pay, her voice was barely a whisper, then I'll use every connection, every favor, every bit of influence I have to help Emiliano. I'm very good at what I do now, Claire. Just ask the medical board members who speed dial me for advice. A long silence followed. Finally, Claire reached for her phone. I'll need to talk to Emiliano. Take your time. But remember, the longer you wait, the more damage control will need to do. She stood up, clutching the invoice like it might bite her. You've changed. No, I've grown. There's a difference. I met her eyes. You taught me that family isn't about blood. It's about transactions. I'm just following your example. Mom? A voice from the doorway made us both turn. Remy stood there, looking uncertain. Remy? Claire's face darkened. What are you doing here? I asked Aunt Esme's secretary where her office was. Remy stepped inside, taller than I remembered, more confident. I thought maybe if we all talked. There's nothing to talk about, Claire snapped. We're leaving. Actually, I said quietly, I think Remy should stay. She's old enough to understand what's happening. She's a child. I'm not a child anymore, Mom. Remy's voice was firm. And I deserve to know why our family fell apart. Claire looked between us, her composure cracking. Fine. You want to know? Your aunt is trying to blackmail us. She'll only help Dad if we pay her $2 million. Is that true? Remy turned to me, hurt in her eyes. I met her gaze steadily. Sometimes the truth is more complicated than it seems. Ask your mother about the day I woke up from the donation surgery. We're leaving, now. Claire grabbed Remy's arm, but Remy pulled away. No, Mom. I want to hear everything. She sat down in the chair her mother had vacated. From both of you. I looked at my niece, seeing the same determination I'd once had in her eyes. Maybe this wasn't just about revenge anymore. Maybe it was about something more important, the truth. Okay, I said softly. Let's talk. Start from the beginning, Remy said, her eyes moving between Claire and me. What really happened that day? Claire sank back into her chair, defeated. Your father was at a conference. I was alone when the doctors said you needed a bone marrow donor immediately. And I was the only match, I added, watching Claire's face. Do you remember what you said to me, Claire, when you came to my apartment that night? Don't. Claire's voice was barely a whisper. No, I think Remy needs to hear this. I turned to my niece. Your mother came to me crying, saying she'd do anything, give anything if I'd help save you. Mom? Remy's voice was soft. I was desperate, Claire said. You were dying. What was I supposed to do? Tell her what happened next, I pressed. Tell her why you turned your back on me. Claire's hands twisted in her lap. I couldn't handle it. Seeing you there in that hospital bed, knowing you'd given up everything for us, the way everyone praised you, called you a hero, even Emiliano. Even Emiliano what? Remy asked. He said we owed her everything, Claire spat. That she was the better person, the better doctor. Do you know what it's like having your husband admire your sister more than you? I laughed bitterly. So that's what this was about? Your jealousy? It was about survival. Claire stood up, pacing. You don't understand what it's like living in your shadow. Perfect Esme, top of her class, everyone's favourite, and then you had to go and be the hero too. I did it for Remy. Did you? Claire whirled on me. Or did you do it because that's who you are? Saint Esme, always doing the right thing, making the rest of us look small in comparison. Stop it! Remy's voice cut through our argument. Just stop. She pulled something from her bag, a worn notebook. I found this last week when I was looking for Dad's old medical records. She opened it, revealing Claire's handwriting. It's Mum's diary from that time. Want to know what it really says? Claire went pale. Remy, don't. Esme's surgery was today, Remy read. The doctors said there were complications. She might never operate again. I can't bear to face her. How can I live with myself, knowing I let her sacrifice everything? It's better to push her away than watch her resent us for destroying her future. Silence filled the room. I stared at Claire, who had collapsed back into her chair, tears streaming down her face. You didn't push me away because you were jealous, I said slowly. You did it because you felt guilty. I couldn't stand it, Claire whispered. Every time I looked at you, I saw what we'd taken from you. It was easier to make you the villain than live with that guilt. So you made me think you hated me? That I meant nothing to you? I thought you'd move on. Build a new life. Be free of us and what we'd done to you. Remy stood up, moving between us. And now you need her help again. But this time, you're going to do it right. Aren't you, Mom? Claire looked up at her daughter, then at me. The invoice. I'll pay it. Whatever it takes. Not because you're blackmailing us, but because it's what we owe you. What I owe you. I felt something shift inside me, like a weight I'd carried for 7 years was finally lifting. Keep your money. What? I said keep it. I pulled out my tablet. But here's what we're going to do instead. I'll help with Emiliano's case, but on one condition. Name it, Claire said. We're going to set up a foundation for medical professionals who suffer career-ending injuries while saving others. The money you would have paid me will fund it instead. Remy's face lit up. That's perfect. Dad can be on the board. It would help his image with the medical community too. And, I added, looking directly at Claire, you and I are going to work on it together. No more running away. No more guilt. Just two sisters trying to make something good out of our past. Claire wiped her eyes. You'd do that? After everything? Family is complicated, I said, thinking of Reagan's words about revenge and success. But maybe it's time we both stopped letting pride and fear tear us apart. Remy moved to hug me, then hesitated. Is it okay if I pulled her close, feeling tears prick my own eyes. Always. Claire watched us, her expression a mixture of regret and hope. I don't deserve your forgiveness. Probably not, I agreed. But Remy deserves to have her family whole again, and maybe that's worth more than any revenge I could take. My phone buzzed. Reagan, probably wondering if I needed backup. I ignored it, focusing instead on the two people in front of me. We had a lot of work ahead, both with Emiliano's case and rebuilding our relationship. But for the first time in 7 years, I felt like we might actually have a chance. The malpractice charges are worse than we thought, Reagan announced, spreading files across my desk. 2 weeks had passed since Claire's visit, and we'd been digging deep into Emiliano's case. How much worse? I asked, scanning the documents. 3 more patients have come forward. One claims Emiliano prescribed medication without checking their allergy history. Another says he missed obvious cancer symptoms for months. I rubbed my temples. Where's Emiliano now? At the hospital, trying to keep his privileges. Reagan hesitated. Esme, are you sure you want to help him? These allegations, they're not just paperwork errors. Before I could respond, Remy burst into my office, her face flushed. Aunt Esme, I need to tell you something about Dad's practice. Remy, shouldn't you be in school? This is more important. She dropped her backpack and pulled out her phone. I've been helping at Dad's office after school, scanning old files. Look what I found. She showed us a series of text messages between Emiliano and his office manager. My stomach dropped as I read them. He knew, I said quietly. He knew he was taking too many patients, cutting corners. Remy nodded, tears in her eyes. The office manager warned him multiple times, but Dad kept saying they needed the money to maintain their lifestyle. Mum's shopping, my private school, their vacation home. Does your mother know about this? No, she just thinks he was overworked. Remy sat down heavily. I don't know what to do. I love Dad, but people got hurt. Reagan cleared her throat. I'll give you 2 a minute. She squeezed my shoulder as she left. I studied my niece's face, seeing the same moral struggle I'd faced as a resident. You did the right thing, showing me this. Did I? It feels like betrayal. Sometimes doing the right thing feels wrong. I held up my trembling hand. When I agreed to the bone marrow donation, I knew there were risks. But I couldn't live with myself if I'd chosen my career over your life. And now, can you live with exposing Dad's mistakes? The question is, can he live with hiding them? I moved around the desk to sit beside her. Your father made choices. Now he has to face the consequences. Will he go to jail? Not if we handle this right. I picked up my phone. But first, we need to talk to your mother. Claire arrived 30 minutes later, looking harried. What's so urgent? I was in the middle of meeting with our lawyers. Sit down, I said gently. There's something you need to see. As Claire read through the messages, her face went from confused to horrified. No, she whispered. He couldn't. Mom, Remy reached for her hand. I think maybe this is partly our fault too. What do you mean? The pressure to maintain our lifestyle, the constant spending. Dad felt like he had to keep up. Claire's face crumpled. Oh, God. The house renovation last year, the new car. I kept pushing for more. Listen to me. I leaned forward. We can still help Emiliano, but not by hiding this. He needs to take responsibility, make amends. How? We set up a restitution fund for the affected patients. He voluntarily suspends his practice and undergoes additional training. Most importantly, he comes clean about the systemic pressures that led to these mistakes. Use it to push for reform, Remy added, surprising me with her insight. Show how the pressure to maintain a certain lifestyle can lead good doctors to make bad choices. Claire wiped her eyes. When did you get so wise? I had a good example, Remy smiled at me. Aunt Esme showed me that integrity matters more than image. My phone buzzed. A text from Devi, my old residency friend. Heard you're handling Emiliano's case. Board meeting tomorrow. Need anything? Actually, I said, I think it's time we brought in another perspective. I showed them Devi's message. She's on the medical board now. If we approach this right, we might be able to turn this into something positive. How? Claire asked. By telling the truth. All of it. Including my story. I took a deep breath. The system needs to change, Claire. Not just for patients, but for doctors too. Maybe Emiliano's case can help make that happen. But his reputation will survive if he shows genuine remorse and a commitment to change. I squeezed her hand. Trust me on this. I've rebuilt my life once before. Remy hugged us both. We'll do it together this time. Looking at them, I realized something had shifted. The revenge I'd planned seemed hollow compared to the opportunity before us. A chance to create real change, to heal not just our family, but perhaps the system itself. Okay, Claire said finally. Let's call Emiliano. It's time he knew everything. As I picked up the phone, my hand trembled less than usual. Sometimes, I realized, the best way forward isn't through vengeance, but through truth, no matter how much it hurts. The medical board conference room felt colder than I remembered. Emiliano sat beside me, his once proud posture now slumped with the weight of confession. Across the table, Devi and 8 other board members studied the documents we'd presented. Dr. Stevenson, the board chairman spoke, you admit to knowingly exceeding safe patient loads and cutting corners in diagnoses? Yes, Emiliano's voice cracked. I lost sight of what matters most. The pressure to maintain a certain lifestyle. It became an excuse to compromise my principles. And now? Devi asked, her eyes meeting mine briefly. Now I want to make it right. He pulled out a folder. I've drafted a proposal. A complete restructuring of my practice, including a patient restitution fund from the sale of our vacation property. Claire, sitting behind us, inhaled sharply. We hadn't discussed selling the house. Furthermore, I added, standing up, Dr. Stevenson has agreed to work with our healthcare advocacy group to address the systemic pressures that lead to these situations. Your advocacy group? One board member raised an eyebrow. Isn't there a conflict of interest here, given your family connection? Actually, Remy's voice rang out from the back of the room. That's exactly why Aunt Esme should be involved. All heads turned as my niece walked forward, her pre-med textbook clutched to her chest. Young lady, this is a closed hearing, the chairman warned. Let her speak, Devi interjected. Sometimes we need to hear from those most affected by our decisions. Remy took a deep breath. 7 years ago, my aunt sacrificed her medical career to save my life. She lost everything because she put patient care above personal gain. My father, she glanced at Emiliano, made the opposite choice. Remy, you don't have to, Claire started. Yes, I do, Mom. Remy's voice strengthened. I'm studying to be a doctor because of both of them, because Aunt Esme showed me what integrity looks like, and because Dad's mistakes showed me how easily good doctors can lose their way. The room fell silent. Emiliano's shoulders shook with silent sobs. The question before us, the chairman said finally, is whether Dr. Stevenson should lose his license permanently. If I may, I stepped forward, my right hand trembling visibly. I'd like to propose an alternative. Proceed. Temporary suspension, yes, but also a mandatory restructuring of his practice under board supervision, regular audits, and, most importantly, his participation in a new initiative we're launching. I handed out proposals to each board member. The Medical Professional Protection Program, a foundation dedicated to supporting healthcare workers facing ethical dilemmas and preventing the circumstances that lead to compromised care. And who would fund this program? Another member asked. We would, Claire spoke up, standing. starting with the proceeds from our vacation home sale. And, she looked at me, the money we originally set aside to pay Esme for her sacrifice. Devi leaned forward. You were going to pay her? After 7 years? $2 million, I said quietly. The estimated cost of my lost medical career. But this program could help prevent others from facing similar losses. Or similar mistakes, Emiliano added, finding his voice. I'll speak at medical schools, share my story, show them how easily the pressure to maintain appearances can corrupt good intentions. The board members huddled together, speaking in low voices. Minutes stretched like hours until finally, the chairman cleared his throat. Dr. Stevenson, approach the table. Emiliano stood on shaky legs. I grabbed his arm, steadying him. The first time I'd touched my brother-in-law in 7 years. Your license will be suspended for 1 year, the chairman announced. During this time, you will complete additional ethics training and work with Ms. Ward's foundation. If, after this period, the board is satisfied with your progress and program implementation, you may resume practice under strict supervision. Relief flooded Emiliano's face. Thank you. I won't disappoint you. Don't thank us, the chairman nodded toward me. Thank your sister-in-law. Her advocacy carried significant weight here. As we gathered our things to leave, Devi pulled me aside. You could have destroyed him, you know, after what they did to you. Revenge wouldn't have helped anyone. I watched as Remy hugged her father, Claire joining them. Sometimes healing has to be bigger than our personal pain. The foundation's a good idea, Devi smiled. Need another board member? Actually, I glanced at my trembling hand, then at my family. I think we need all the help we can get. Outside the conference room, Emiliano approached me hesitantly. Esme, I don't deserve... You're right, you don't, I cut him off. But Remy deserves a father who learns from his mistakes. The patients deserve a doctor who puts their needs first. And maybe, I looked at Claire, who gave me a tearful smile. Maybe we all deserve a chance to rebuild what we broke. Starting now? Remy asked hopefully. Starting now, I agreed, feeling the weight of revenge finally lift from my shoulders. We've got work to do. 6 months later, I stood at the podium in the hospital auditorium, facing a room full of medical students and residents. The Medical Professional Protection Program's first symposium was underway, and the turnout had exceeded our expectations. Before we begin, I held up my trembling right hand, let me show you what sacrifice looks like, and then my brother-in-law will show you what redemption looks like. Emiliano walked onto the stage, noticeably thinner and greyer than before. His suspension had taken its toll, but there was a new clarity in his eyes. 3 years ago, he began, I chose profit over patience. Today I want to tell you how that decision destroyed lives, including my own. From the front row, Claire and Remy watched intently. Behind them sat the families of patients affected by Emiliano's mistakes. We'd invited them all, part of our commitment to complete transparency. My wife's sister, Emiliano gestured to me, showed me what real medical ethics look like. She gave up everything to save my daughter, and how did we repay her? By turning our backs when she needed us most? A woman in the audience stood up. My husband died because you were too busy to notice his symptoms. How do you sleep at night? The room went silent. This was the moment we'd prepared for, but it still felt like a punch to the gut. I don't, Emiliano answered honestly. Not really. Every night I see your husband's face. I see all their faces. That's why we created this program, not to erase our mistakes, but to prevent others from making them. Tell them about the changes, I prompted gently. Right. He straightened his shoulders. Every patient affected by my negligence has received full compensation from the sale of my properties. But more importantly, we've implemented a new patient care model. Reagan clicked to the next slide, showing our restructured clinic design. No doctor in our network will handle more than the recommended patient load, Emiliano continued. We've established mandatory rest periods, peer review systems, and ethical oversight committees. Another audience member spoke up. But how will you maintain profitability? We won't, Claire stood up. Not the way we used to. We've downsized our life, sold our excess properties. Medicine isn't about getting rich, it's about helping people. I watched my sister address the crowd, marveling at how much she'd changed. The designer clothes were gone, replaced by simple business attire. The arrogance had given way to humility. My sister taught me that, Claire added, turning to me. Sometimes the most valuable things in life aren't things at all. Remy joined us on stage for the next part. As a pre-med student, she began, I'm learning that medicine is about choices. Every day, doctors choose between what's easy and what's right. Which brings us to our announcement. I took over. The Medical Professional Protection Program is launching a scholarship fund for medical students who demonstrate exceptional ethical standards and for doctors who need support choosing patient care over profit. Devi stood up from her seat on the medical board panel. The board has agreed to integrate this program into our licensing requirements. Every doctor in the state will need to complete ethics training through the foundation. The rest of the symposium passed in a blur of questions, discussions, and tearful reconciliations between Emiliano and his former patients. By the end, even the woman whose husband had died approached him. I don't forgive you, she said quietly, but I appreciate what you're trying to do here. Make sure it matters. Later, as we packed up our materials, Reagan nudged me. Look at that. Across the room, Remy was showing Claire and Emiliano her latest anatomy test, a perfect score. Following in your footsteps, Reagan smiled. No, I shook my head. She's creating her own path, a better one. Speaking of paths, Claire joined us. The real estate agent called. The vacation house sold. The funds will be transferred to the foundation tomorrow. And the beach condo? I asked. Listed yesterday. She touched my arm. We really are changing, Esme. I know it doesn't make up for the past, but maybe it's not about making up for the past, I interrupted. Maybe it's about building a better future. Emiliano approached, holding a stack of business cards. 4 more hospitals want to implement our program, and 2 malpractice lawyers want to refer their clients to us for mediation. Good, I nodded. The more we expand, the more people we can help. Help begins at home, Remy announced, joining our circle. Family dinner tonight? I'm cooking. You cook? I raised an eyebrow. Well, I order really good takeout, she grinned. Come on, Aunt Esme, we've got 7 years of family dinners to make up for. Looking at them, my once broken family now piecing itself back together, I felt something I hadn't expected. Peace. The revenge I'd planned had transformed into something far more powerful. Redemption. Okay, I smiled, gathering my things. But first, let's finish what we started here. We've got a healthcare system to fix. One ethical decision at a time, Emiliano added softly. Together, Claire squeezed my hand. My right hand still trembled, but now it felt less like a reminder of what I'd lost, and more like a symbol of what we'd found, a way to turn our worst moments into something meaningful. The morning sun streamed through my office windows as I reviewed the latest foundation reports. A knock at the door made me look up. Ready for the board meeting? Reagan asked, tablet in hand. Almost. Just checking these final numbers. I smiled at the figures on my screen. We've helped 38 doctors avoid burnout this quarter alone. Make that 39, Devi walked in, dropping a file on my desk. Remember Dr. Thomas from pediatrics? She was about to quit medicine after losing a patient. Our program got her the support she needed. And now? Back at work with a manageable patient load and twice-weekly counselling, Devi grinned. She says you inspired her. My phone buzzed, a text from Claire. Emiliano's first day back, nervous but ready. Thank you. Before I could respond, Remy burst in, waving a letter. I got in. Full scholarship to medical school. What? I jumped up to hug her. That's amazing. The ethics board was particularly impressed with her essay, Devi winked. Something about learning integrity from her aunt. And resilience from her dad, Remy added. He's different now, you know. The suspension changed him, changed all of us. Speaking of change, Reagan checked her watch. We should head to the boardroom. The governor's waiting. I gathered my materials, including the trembling hand exercises my physical therapist had designed. The tremors would never fully disappear, but I'd learn to work with them, not against them. The boardroom was packed. The governor sat at the head of the table, flanked by state health officials. Claire and Emiliano were there too, along with several doctors who'd been through our program. Ms. Ward, the governor began, your foundation has transformed healthcare ethics in our state. We'd like to implement your model nationwide. Nationwide? I glanced at Reagan, who nodded encouragingly. The statistics speak for themselves, a health official interjected. Malpractice rates down 40%, doctor retention up 60%, patient satisfaction at record highs. But more importantly, Emiliano stood up. We're saving lives, both patients and doctors. That's why we're here, the governor continued. We want to establish similar programs in every state, with you heading the national initiative. I felt everyone's eyes on me. I'm honored, but before you answer, Claire interrupted, there's something you should see. She nodded to Remy, who pulled up a video on the main screen. My breath caught as faces filled the display, doctors we'd helped, patients who'd received better care, families who'd found closure. You turned our family's darkest moment into light, Claire's voice cracked. Now you can do the same for others. The thing is, I said slowly, I couldn't have done any of this alone. I looked around the room. Reagan's strategic brilliance, Devi's medical board connections, Claire's financial expertise, Emiliano's cautionary tale, Remy's fresh perspective. We succeeded because we worked together. So that's a yes? The governor asked. That's a we'll do it as a team. I held up my trembling right hand. This reminder of sacrifice. It's also a symbol of strength. Not just mine, but everyone who chooses integrity over ease, ethics over profit, healing over harm. I have one condition, Emiliano spoke up. The program must always include the patient families, their stories, their pain, their healing. It's essential. Agreed, the governor nodded. We'll start implementation next month. As the meeting concluded, Remy pulled me aside. Remember when you wanted revenge on my parents? Seems like another lifetime. You got something better, she smiled. You got your family back, and you're helping other families stay whole. Speaking of family, Claire joined us. Dinner at our new, much smaller house tonight. Emiliano's cooking. Actually cooking this time, Remy laughed. No takeout? I looked at my sister, really looked at her. The designer clothes and perfect makeup were gone, but something more beautiful had taken their place. Authenticity. You know, Claire said softly, I used to be so jealous of you. Your talent, your integrity. Now I'm just grateful you're my sister. Even with the tremors? I wiggled my fingers. Especially with the tremors. She grabbed my shaking hand. They remind us what real strength looks like. Reagan called us back to finish the paperwork, but I lingered a moment, watching my family, both blood and chosen, interact. Devi discussing medical ethics with Remy. Emiliano sharing patient care strategies with the health officials. Claire and Reagan planning program expansions. This wasn't the ending I'd imagined when I'd plotted my revenge. It was better. We'd turned personal pain into public good, family wounds into systemic healing. My hand trembled as I picked up my pen to sign the national initiative documents, but my signature was clear and strong. Like the foundation itself, like our rebuilt family, it wasn't perfect, but it was real, and it was making a difference. And really, that was all I'd ever wanted to do as a doctor. Make a difference. I'd just found a different way to heal.
The text message from Mom lit up my phone screen at exactly 2:47 a.m. Come home immediately. Your sister needs you. I stared at those words until they burned into my retinas, my hands shaking with a familiar mixture of rage and resignation. My name is Adeline, and I've spent 25 years being the responsible one, the reliable one, the one who always comes running when called. Tonight was supposed to be different. Tonight, I was celebrating landing my dream job, Senior Marketing Director at one of New York's top agencies. Don't let her ruin this for you, Natasha said, sliding another glass of champagne across the table. We were the last ones left at the bar, our earlier celebration with colleagues having dwindled down to just us two. You've worked too hard for this. I took a long sip, letting the bubbles fizz against my tongue. You don't understand. Willow's probably having another crisis. Last time, it was because she couldn't decide which luxury apartment to rent with Dad's money. Before that, it was because her boyfriend dumped her for being too high maintenance. And your mother expects you to drop everything and fix it. Natasha's voice dripped with disapproval. That's what I do. That's what I've always done. I pulled up my mother's contact information, thumb hovering over the call button. Don't. Natasha grabbed my phone. At least wait until morning. But I knew better. The calls would keep coming, and Mom's voice would get increasingly desperate until I gave in. I dialed her number. Finally, Mom's voice crackled through the speaker. Where have you been? Your sister's company is downsizing, and she might lose her entry-level position. She's devastated. I pressed my fingers against my temple. Mom, it's the middle of the night. What do you expect me to do about it right now? You need to come home and help her find a new job. And while you're at it, she needs help with her apartment hunting. The lease is up next month, and you know how overwhelmed she gets with paperwork. Mom, I can't. I just accepted a position in New York. I start in 3 weeks. The silence on the other end was deafening. When she spoke again, her voice was ice cold. You're choosing a job over your family? It's not just a job, Mom. It's my career, my future. I've worked years for this opportunity. Your sister needs you here. Family comes first, Adeline. Always. She paused, and I could practically see her pursing her lips in disappointment. Besides, there are plenty of marketing jobs in Chicago. You can find something local. I caught Natasha's eye across the table. She was shaking her head vigorously. No, Mom. I'm not coming back. Not this time. Then you leave me no choice. Mum's voice hardened. Either you come home and help your sister, or you can consider yourself no longer part of this family. The words hit me like a physical blow. Are you seriously giving me an ultimatum? I'm being realistic. Your father and I have supported you through college, helped you with your first apartment, and this is how you repay us. By abandoning your sister when she needs you most. I wanted to scream, to remind her that I'd worked 3 jobs through college while Willow got a free ride, that I'd paid back every penny they'd helped me with, while my sister still lived off their credit cards at 22. Instead, I said quietly, I'll think about it, and hung up. Natasha reached across the table and squeezed my hand. You know what you have to do, right? I nodded slowly, a plan forming in my mind. I'm not going back, but I'm also not going to fight about it. What do you mean? I pulled out my laptop, the champagne forgotten. I'm booking a one-way ticket to New York for tomorrow. No arguments, no dramatic showdown. I'll leave them a letter explaining everything. Holy shit, Natasha whispered. You're really doing it. Watch me. My fingers flew across the keyboard as I booked the flight. 25 years of being the family doormat ends tonight. As I confirmed the purchase, my phone buzzed again. A text from Willow. Addie, please come home. I don't know what I'll do without you. For the first time in my life, I didn't respond. Instead, I opened a new document and began typing. Dear Mom, Dad, and Willow. The words flowed easily now. Years of suppressed feelings finally finding their way onto the page. Tomorrow, they'd wake up to find me gone. Tomorrow, they'd finally have to face the consequences of their actions. Tomorrow, my new life would begin. But tonight, I had a letter to write. The sun hadn't risen yet when I finished the letter. My hands were trembling as I sealed the envelope, my entire life's frustrations condensed into 3 pages of brutal honesty. Read it, I told Natasha, who'd stayed with me through the night. Tell me if it's too harsh. She unfolded the pages and began reading aloud. Dear Mom, Dad, and Willow, by the time you read this, I'll be on my way to New York. I know this isn't how you wanted things to go, but I can't keep setting myself on fire to keep others warm. Mom, you've always said family comes first, but you never meant the whole family, just Willow. When I worked 3 jobs in college, you called me selfish for not having time to help her with her homework. When I got my first promotion, you dismissed it because Willow was having boy troubles that apparently needed my immediate attention. Dad, your silence has been just as damaging as Mom's demands. You watched me struggle, watched me sacrifice everything for Willow, and never once stood up for me. Your passive acceptance of this dynamic made you complicit. And Willow, I love you, but you're 22 years old. It's time to grow up. Your problems aren't emergencies that require everyone else to drop their lives. Your inability to handle basic adult responsibilities isn't cute anymore. It's exhausting. I'm not doing this to hurt any of you. I'm doing this because for the first time in my life, I'm choosing myself. I've accepted the position in New York. I've signed a lease on an apartment. I'm starting fresh. Don't try to guilt me into coming back. Don't try to manipulate me with threats of cutting me off. I've been independent since I was 18. Nothing will change except that I'll finally be free to live my own life. If you want to have a relationship with me moving forward, it needs to be on equal terms. No more expectations that I'll drop everything for Willow. No more guilt trips. No more ultimatums. I hope someday you'll understand. Love, Adeline. Natasha looked up from the letter, her eyes wide. Holy shit, Adeline. This is perfect. I zipped up my suitcase, already packed with the essentials. Everything else would be shipped later. You don't think it's too much? It's exactly enough. She helped me carry my bags to her car. Are you sure you don't want me to drive you to the airport? No, I'll take an Uber. You've done more than enough staying up with me all night. The drive to my parents' house was surreal in the pre-dawn darkness. Natasha pulled up a block away, keeping the headlights off. I slipped out with the letter in hand. Our family home looked peaceful, almost mockingly so. The garden Mom meticulously maintained, the porch swing where Willow spent hours on her phone, Dad's perfectly washed car in the driveway, everything exactly as it had always been. I placed the letter on the kitchen counter where Mum would find it during her morning coffee routine. My hand lingered on the envelope for a moment before I forced myself to turn away. My phone vibrated. Another text from Willow. Addie? Why aren't you answering? Mum's really upset. I switched off my phone. The Uber was waiting when I returned to Natasha's car. She hugged me tight, whispering, You're doing the right thing. Call me when you land. At the airport, everything moved in a blur. Security, coffee, waiting at the gate. It wasn't until I was buckled into my seat that reality hit me full force. Would you like something to drink? The flight attendant's voice snapped me back to the present. Water, please. My voice sounded strange to my own ears. As the plane took off, I imagined Mum finding the letter. She'd be angry first, then hurt, then would immediately call Willow to comfort her. Dad would read it silently, perhaps feeling a twinge of guilt, but ultimately deferring to Mum's reaction. And Willow. I pictured her face crumpling as she realized her safety net was gone. Part of me ached for her, but a stronger part felt an overwhelming sense of relief. The city disappeared beneath the clouds, and with it, 25 years of being everyone's emotional support system. My phone stayed off in my bag, collecting missed calls and angry texts I wasn't ready to face. First time going to New York? The elderly woman next to me asked kindly. No, I replied, managing a small smile. But it is my first time going there to stay. As the sun finally broke over the horizon, painting the clouds in brilliant oranges and pinks, I felt something I hadn't experienced in years. Hope. Whatever happened next, whatever storm I'd just unleashed, at least I was finally steering my own ship. The letter was written. The die was cast. There was no going back now. New York hit me like a wall of sound and color. 3 weeks into my new life, and I still couldn't believe I'd actually done it. My tiny studio apartment in Brooklyn was a far cry from my spacious room back home, but every square inch was mine. Earned with my own money, decorated to my own taste, and blessedly free of family drama. Adeline? Miguel, my new boss, poked his head into my office. Got a minute? I quickly minimized my email. 37 unread messages from Mum, 12 from Dad, and 63 from Willow. Of course, Miguel's office had a view of Manhattan that still took my breath away. He gestured for me to sit. The Johnson campaign presentation was fantastic. The client loved your fresh perspective. Thank you, But, he held up a hand, you seem distracted. Everything okay? I hesitated. Miguel had been nothing but supportive since I'd started, but I kept my personal life private at work. Just adjusting to the city. And avoiding calls from Chicago? He smiled knowingly. Your phone's been buzzing through meetings all week. Is it that obvious? Only to someone who did the same thing 20 years ago. He leaned back in his chair. Left Puerto Rico against my family's wishes. They didn't speak to me for 2 years. How did you handle it? By remembering why I left. Speaking of which, he slid a file across his desk. We're pitching to Nike next week. Want to lead? My heart jumped. Are you serious? That's huge. You've earned it. He gestured at my phone, which was buzzing again. Deal with whatever that is. Clear your head. Back in my office, I finally turned on my phone's sound. Immediately, a voicemail from Willow played. Addie, please. Her voice was thick with tears. I lost my job. They said I missed too many deadlines. Mom's making me move back home, but I can't. I can't go backward like this. I need your help. Please call me back. I pressed delete, but my hand was shaking. Another voicemail started. Adeline Gibson. Mum's voice was sharp. Your sister is falling apart, and you're playing career woman in New York. How dare you abandon your family like this? That letter was cruel and selfish. Call me back immediately. Delete. My phone rang. Natasha's face popped up on screen. Finally, a call I wanted to take. Your sister just showed up at my apartment, she said without preamble. What? Why? Looking for you, obviously. She's a mess, Adeline. Mascara everywhere, wearing pajama pants in public. She got fired for real this time. I sank into my chair. Not my problem anymore. I know, but... Natasha hesitated. She said she's been having panic attacks. Maybe we were too harsh. I wrote that letter alone. You know what I mean. I encouraged you. Because you've watched me put my life on hold for them for years. I was almost shouting now. Did she mention why she got fired? The missed deadlines? The constant drama? No, but... Then let me tell you what happened. She spent more time on Instagram than working. She called in sick whenever she had a bad date. She expected everyone else to cover for her, just like she expected me to fix everything else in her life. A knock at my door made me jump. Miguel stood there, concern etched on his face. I lowered my voice. I have to go, Natasha. Just don't let her guilt you into giving her my address. What about your dad? She asked quickly. He's been asking about you too. Dad had 25 years to stand up for me. His guilt is not my responsibility either. I hung up and turned to Miguel. I'm sorry about that. He sat down across from me. You know, when I left home, I thought I was just running away. Took me years to realize I was actually running towards something better. Did your family ever understand? Eventually, but only after I stopped trying to make them understand. He tapped the Nike file. Sometimes the best revenge is success. My phone buzzed again. A text from Willow. Found out you're working at Marshall & Brooks. Guess family means nothing compared to a corner office, huh? I showed Miguel the message. She's trying to track me down. Want my advice? Focus on the Nike pitch. Pour everything into it. Success is the best boundary. It shows them you're thriving without them. I straightened my spine. You're right. Can I see the brief again? As I immersed myself in work, my phone kept buzzing with messages from home. But for the first time, the guilt was overshadowed by something stronger. Determination. Let them panic. Let them feel what it's like to handle their own problems. I had a presentation to nail. The Nike pitch was a success, but I barely had time to celebrate before Natasha's urgent call came through. Your mum showed up at my workplace today, she said, her voice tight with anxiety. She's getting desperate, Adeline. I was walking home from the subway, the city's evening buzz surrounding me. What did she want? What do you think? She's trying to guilt me into revealing your address. But that's not the worst part. Natasha paused. Willow's really spiraling. She totaled her car last week. I stopped walking. What? Was she hurt? No, just her pride. And Dad's credit card. She was texting while driving. But here's the thing. Your parents refused to buy her a new one. Seriously? I leaned against a building, processing this. Mom and Dad actually said no to Willow. Apparently, they can't afford it. Your dad's business isn't doing well, and with Willow moving back home... My phone beeped. Another incoming call. Mom. I have to go, Natasha. Thanks for letting me know. I answered Mom's call, bracing myself. Hello? Finally. Her voice was different, less commanding, more strained. Adeline, we need to talk about what you've done to this family. What I've done? I laughed incredulously. I made a career choice, Mom. I'm not the one who gave ultimatums. Your sister is falling apart. She's had to move back home, she can't find a job, and now she's having anxiety attacks. Is that what you wanted? I clutched my phone tighter. What I wanted was to live my own life without being Willow's permanent backup plan. She's your sister, and I'm your daughter. My voice echoed off the buildings, turning heads of passing strangers. But you never worried about my anxiety, did you? When I was working 3 jobs in college, when I had to cancel my own plans constantly to rescue Willow. A long silence followed. When Mum spoke again, her voice was quieter. We need you to come home, just for a little while. Help her get back on her feet. No, Adeline, please, your father's business is struggling. We can't support her like we used to. So now that you can't enable her anymore, you want me to step in? I started walking again, faster now. That's not happening, Mum. You're being selfish. No, I'm being successful. I just landed the biggest account of my career. I have my own place, my own life. For the first time, I'm putting myself first, and it's working. Another silence. Then, your father wants to speak with you. Dad's voice came through, hesitant as always. Princess, we miss you. My steps faltered. Dad hadn't called me princess since I was little. Dad, I know we messed up. I know I should have done more, said more. Then why didn't you? It was easier not to rock the boat, but seeing what it's done to you, to all of us. He sighed heavily. Willow needs to learn to stand on her own feet. We see that now, but she doesn't know how. That's not my responsibility. No, it's ours. We failed both of you in different ways. His voice cracked. Just don't cut us off completely. Please. I reached my apartment building, fumbling for my keys. I need time, Dad. Space to build my own life without feeling guilty about it. I understand. But Adeline. Yes? I'm proud of you. For being strong enough to leave. For succeeding. I should have said that years ago. Tears pricked at my eyes. Thanks, Dad. After hanging up, I sat on my building stoop, letting the city noise wash over me. My phone buzzed with a text from Willow. Everyone's mad at me, and it's all your fault. I hate you. Minutes later, another. I'm sorry, I don't hate you. I just don't know how to do this without you. I started typing, deleted it, started again. Finally, you'll figure it out. You're stronger than you think. Then I turned off my phone and went upstairs to my apartment. On my desk, the Nike contract sat waiting for my signature, my first major client as lead director. Next to it was a framed photo Natasha had taken the night before I left, my face glowing with determination and champagne. That girl in the photo had been terrified but did it anyway. She deserved my focus now, not the endless drama back home. My laptop pinged with an email from Miguel. Nike loves your ideas. Dinner tomorrow to celebrate. I smiled and replied, yes. Let Willow figure out her own life for once. Let Mom and Dad deal with the consequences of their choices. I had a celebration to plan. The knock on my apartment door came at 11 p.m. on a Tuesday. I wasn't expecting anyone, and my heart nearly stopped when I looked through the peephole. Willow stood there, mascara streaked down her face, clutching a designer suitcase that probably cost more than my rent. "I know you're in there," she called out. "Your light's on." I took a deep breath and opened the door. "How did you find my address?" "I called every real estate agent in Brooklyn until I found one who remembered you." She pushed past me into the apartment. "Nice place. Kind of small, though." "What are you doing here, Willow?" She dropped her suitcase with a thud. "Mom and Dad are being impossible. They've frozen my credit cards. They're making me apply for jobs. And Dad actually suggested I take a barista position. Me, a barista!" I crossed my arms. The horror. "Don't be sarcastic. This is serious." She collapsed onto my couch. "I thought maybe I could stay with you for a while. Just until I figure things out." "Absolutely not." "Come on, Addie, we're sisters." "Yes, we are. Which is exactly why you can't stay here." I remained standing, maintaining distance. "This is what you always do, Willow. You create chaos, then expect everyone else to fix it." "That's not fair." "No? What about my college graduation? You had a crisis because your boyfriend didn't like your dress, and Mom made me skip the ceremony to take you shopping." "I was young then. You were 19. I worked my ass off for that degree, and I didn't even get to walk across the stage because you needed attention." Willow's lower lip trembled. "Why are you being so mean?" "I'm not being mean, I'm being honest." I sat in the chair opposite her. "Do you know what I was doing when Mom called that night, demanding I come home to help you?" She shook her head. "I was celebrating landing this job, the biggest opportunity of my career, and Mom expected me to give it up because you might have to face consequences for once in your life." "I didn't ask her to do that." "No? You never explicitly ask, Willow. You just cry and panic until someone fixes everything for you." She stood up abruptly, pacing my small living room. "So, what am I supposed to do? Live with Mom and Dad forever? Work as a barista? You're supposed to grow up. Get a job, any job. Learn to manage your money. Stop expecting other people to solve your problems." "Easy for you to say. You've always been the perfect one, the responsible one." "Because I had to be." My voice rose. "Do you think I wanted to work 3 jobs in college? To miss out on parties and dating because I was too busy being your backup plan?" Willow stopped pacing, her face crumpling. "I didn't realize." "No, you didn't. Because you never had to think about anyone but yourself." My phone buzzed. A text from Miguel about tomorrow's meeting. The real world, my new life, calling. "You need to leave," I said firmly. "Go home, Willow. Face your problems head on for once." "Mum was right," she whispered. "You've changed. You're cold now." "No, I'm just done being everyone's safety net." I walked to the door and opened it. "You can stay in a hotel tonight if you want, but you're not staying here." She grabbed her suitcase, tears flowing freely now. "I thought you loved me." "I do love you. That's why I'm not enabling you anymore." At the door, she turned back. "What if I can't do it? What if I fail?" "Then you'll learn from it and try again. That's what adults do." After she left, I sat on my couch, shaking. My phone showed 3 missed calls from Mom already. Willow had obviously called her. I texted Natasha. "Willow just showed up at my apartment." She replied immediately. "Holy shit, you okay?" "Yeah, sent her away. Feel like a monster." "You're not a monster. You're teaching her the lesson your parents never did." I looked around my apartment, small but mine, paid for with my own money, decorated with my own taste. On my desk, the Nike contract sat next to a stack of other projects. My new life, built on my own terms. My phone rang again. Mom. This time, I turned it off completely. Tomorrow, I had a meeting to prepare for. Tomorrow, I would continue building my career, my independence, my future. And Willow? For the first time in her life, she would have to build her own future too. Maybe that was the greatest gift I could give her, even if she couldn't see it yet. 2 months after Willow's surprise visit, Natasha's weekly update call brought unexpected news. Your sister got a job, she said, the surprise evident in her voice. I nearly dropped my coffee. What kind of job? Receptionist at a dental office. And get this, she's been there for 3 weeks already. I sat down at my kitchen counter. You're kidding. Nope, your mom's been complaining to everyone that it's beneath Willow, but your sister's actually showing up every day. On time. Wow, I struggled to process this information. How do you know all this? I ran into her at Starbucks. She was on her lunch break, wearing scrubs and everything. She seemed different, more grounded. My phone beeped with another call. Miguel. I have to go, Natasha. Work call. Adeline. Miguel's voice was serious. Can you come to the office? Now? 20 minutes later, I sat in his office staring at him in disbelief. Paris? The Nike campaign was so successful, they want us to handle their European launch. 3 months in Paris leading the team. He leaned forward. It's a huge opportunity. When? Next week. I know it's sudden, but... My phone lit up with a text from Dad. Please call. Emergency. I ignored it. I'll do it. You sure? It's a big move, even temporarily. Another text from Dad. It's about my health. Need to talk. My hand froze over the phone. Miguel noticed. Everything okay? I don't know. Can I have an hour? Outside Miguel's office, I called Dad. Princess, his voice was weak. I had a heart attack yesterday. The world tilted sideways. What? Why didn't anyone call me sooner? Your mother wanted to, but I asked her to wait until I could talk to you myself. He paused for breath. It was a mild one. I'm okay. But there's more. What do you mean? The business. I've been struggling for months. The stress. Well, the doctors say I need to step back. Dad. Willow's been amazing, actually. He gave a weak laugh. She's been helping with paperwork, learning the business basics. She wants to try running things while I recover. I sat down hard on a nearby chair. Willow, running the business. She's changed, Adeline. This wake-up call. Losing you. It forced her to grow up. Another pause. Your mother's struggling to accept it, but Willow's really stepping up. My throat tightened. Do you need me to come home? No, Princess. That's why I waited to call. I didn't want you dropping everything and rushing back. We're managing. He coughed slightly. Willow insisted on handling things herself. Said it was time she took responsibility. I wiped away unexpected tears. Who are you, and what have you done with my family? He chuckled, then grew serious. We failed you for so long, Adeline, letting you carry everything, making you responsible for everyone else's happiness. I see that now. Dad, no, let me finish. You're leaving. It forced us all to change. Your mother's still adjusting, but she's trying. And Willow, he sounded proud. She's becoming the person she could have been all along if we hadn't babied her so much. Miguel appeared in the doorway, tapping his watch. Dad, I have to go. I'm in the middle of something at work. But I'll call tonight, okay? Of course. Go be successful. We're okay here. I walked back into Miguel's office, my mind spinning. Everything all right? He asked. My dad had a heart attack. Jesus. Look, forget Paris. Family comes first. No. I straightened up. My sister's handling it, and for the first time in my life, I actually believe she can. You sure? I thought about Willow and Scrubs, showing up to work every day. Willow learning the family business. Willow finally growing up. Yes, I'm sure. I picked up the Paris contract. Where do I sign? That night, I called Natasha to tell her about Paris. She squealed with excitement, then turned serious. Your mum called me today, about your dad. I know about the heart attack. No, not that. She wanted me to tell you she's sorry. Actually used those words. I sat in silence, letting that sink in. She said she's been seeing a therapist, working on her control issues. Natasha paused. People can change, Adeline. Yeah, I said softly, looking at my packed suitcase for Paris. I'm starting to believe that. My phone buzzed with a text from Willow. Heard about Paris. Congratulations. I mean it. For the first time since I'd left, I felt something shift. Not forgiveness exactly, but possibility. Maybe we all needed to find our own paths to grow up. Paris was everything I'd dreamed of and more. But Dad's second heart attack brought me home after just 6 weeks. Standing outside his hospital room, I barely recognized my sister in her business attire, typing furiously on her laptop. "The insurance company's being difficult," Willow said without looking up, "but I've got it handled." "When was the last time you slept?" She finally met my eyes, dark circles evident under her makeup. "Tuesday, maybe. I'm trying to run the business, deal with insurance, and coordinate with Dad's doctors. She's not coping well." "Where is she?" "Cafeteria. She stress bakes now. The nurses are getting tired of her muffins." I sat beside her. "How bad is it?" "The doctors say he needs bypass surgery. Triple bypass." Her voice cracked slightly. "The business is struggling, and our insurance has a massive deductible. I've been going through the books, trying to figure something out." "I can help with the medical bills," I offered. "No." Willow's response was immediate. "You've got your life in Paris. I've got this." "Willow, I mean it, Addie. I'm not that helpless girl anymore." She showed me her laptop screen. "Look, I've already restructured some of Dad's business loans. Found ways to cut costs without laying anyone off. I just need to figure out the insurance situation." Mom appeared with a basket of muffins, stopping short when she saw me. "Adeline, you're here." "Of course I'm here." She set down the muffins and hugged me awkwardly. "I didn't think, with your important Paris job." "It's Dad," I said simply. Tears filled her eyes. "I'm sorry, for everything. I know it's too late, but—" "Mum," Willow interrupted, "the doctor's here." The surgeon explained the procedure, risks, and recovery time. Mom started crying again. Willow took notes on her laptop. I watched them both, feeling like I'd stepped into an alternate universe. "The surgery's scheduled for tomorrow morning," the doctor concluded. "Any questions?" "The insurance," Willow began, "is approved," a familiar voice said behind us. We turned to see Miguel standing there, looking out of place in his designer suit. "What are you doing here?" I asked. "Handling the insurance situation." He handed Willow some papers. The company's international health coverage extends to immediate family of employees on overseas assignments. I had them backdate it to when you accepted the Paris position. Willow scanned the documents, her hands shaking. "This covers everything. The surgery, the recovery, all of it." "Miguel," I started, but he held up his hand. "The Paris team can handle things for a few more weeks. Take care of your family." After he left, Mom turned to me. "He seems nice." "He's my boss, Mom." "A boss who flew from Paris to help with your father's insurance?" She raised an eyebrow. "People don't do that for just employees. Can we focus?" Willow was back to her laptop. "We need to prepare for Dad's recovery. He'll need care at home, physical therapy." "I'll handle that," Mom said quietly. I've been talking to someone, a therapist, learning to be more present, less controlling." "Mom's actually cooking now," Willow added. "Real food, not just stress baking." "And you?" I asked Willow. "How are you really doing with all this?" She closed her laptop. "Terrified, overwhelmed, but also capable. For the first time in my life, I know I can handle things, even if they're hard, even if I'm scared." "Your sister's become quite the businesswoman," Mom said proudly. "She reminds me of you sometimes." "No," Willow shook her head. "I'm not trying to be Adeline anymore. I'm trying to be me, just a better version." Dad was awake when we entered his room. "My girls," he smiled weakly. "All 3 of you together. The surgery's approved," Willow told him. "Everything's arranged." "Never doubted you for a minute, sweetheart." He turned to me. "Paris treating you well?" "It can wait," I said. "Family comes first." Mom flinched at her own words being turned around, but Dad just smiled. "No, princess. Family comes first doesn't mean sacrificing yourself. It means supporting each other while everyone grows." He squeezed my hand. Go back to Paris after the surgery. We've got this covered. Looking at Willow's quiet confidence, Mum's softened edges, and Dad's proud smile, I realized he was right. This wasn't the family I'd fled from months ago. We'd all changed, grown, learned to stand on our own and support each other in healthier ways. Okay, I agreed, but I'm staying until you're recovered from surgery. Deal, Willow said. Now, let's talk about your marketing expertise. The business could use some fresh ideas. We spent the night planning, talking, and actually listening to each other. It wasn't perfect, but it was progress, and sometimes that's enough. Welcome to Gibson & Gibson Marketing, Willow greeted me at the door of Dad's renovated office building. What do you think? I stared at the modern glass entrance, the sleek new logo, and the bustling employees visible through the windows. I barely recognize it. Wait until you see inside. She led me through, proudly pointing out changes. We've doubled our client base since implementing your marketing strategies. Dad mostly works from home now, but he comes in for the big meetings. And Mum started her own catering business. Turns out all that stress baking had a silver lining. Willow laughed. She's actually really good at it. In the main conference room, Dad sat at the head of the table, looking healthier than I'd seen him in years. There's my Paris director. Not anymore, I corrected, hugging him. New York's home base now. Paris is just a quarterly visit. Speaking of New York, Willow pulled out a folder. I have a proposal for you. Oh? We want to open a New York branch. Dad and I talked about it and... She took a deep breath. We'd like you to run it. I blinked. What? As an equal partner, Dad added, your sister's ideas and your marketing expertise, you'd be unstoppable. I already have a job. Miguel thought you might say that. Willow smiled knowingly. Miguel? Who do you think approached us about a potential merger? Dad's eyes twinkled. Marshall and Brooks's New York office merging with Gibson & Gibson. You'd head the combined operation. I sat down hard. You've been talking to Miguel? For months. Willow sat beside me. Look, I know our history is complicated, but we're not the same people anymore. I'm not asking you to save me or fix anything. I'm asking you to be my partner. Equal stakes, equal responsibility. What about Mum? Won't she expect... Mum's too busy with her catering company to interfere. Dad chuckled, though she does insist on providing food for all our client meetings. My phone buzzed. Miguel. Have they shown you the proposal yet? You knew about this? I texted back. Who do you think suggested it? You've outgrown being just an employee. Time to build something of your own. Willow watched me nervously. I know it's a lot to consider. Show me the numbers, I interrupted. Her face lit up as she pulled out spreadsheets and projections. We spent hours going through them, debating strategies, building on each other's ideas. This wasn't the old dynamic of me fixing her problems. This was true collaboration. One condition, I said finally. Name it. We keep the offices separate. I run New York, you run Chicago. We coordinate but maintain independence. Already planned for that. She pulled out another document. Draft partnership agreement. Completely equal, completely independent. When did you get so corporate? When I realized I was actually good at it. She smiled. Turns out I just needed to find my own path instead of being pushed onto someone else's. Dad stood up. This calls for celebration. Your mother's been stress baking all morning, waiting for an answer. I haven't said yes yet. Please, Willow scoffed. I saw your face when you were going through those projections. You're in. She was right. The numbers were solid, the strategy sound, and the opportunity perfect. But more than that, the dynamic felt right, equal, healthy. Mum was waiting at their house with a spread that could feed an army. Well, we're going to need a New York office warming party, I said. She hugged me, whispering, I'm so proud of who you've become, who you've helped us all become. Mom's getting sentimental, Willow Stage whispered. Quick, someone give her something to bake. We all laughed. naturally, easily, without the underlying tension that had marked our family gatherings for so long. My phone buzzed again. Miguel. Dinner tonight to celebrate, as your former boss and hopefully something more. I smiled, typing back, yes to both. Looking around at my family, Dad healthy and semi-retired, Mom finding her own passion, Willow standing confidently on her own feet, I realized something profound. Sometimes running away isn't about escape. Sometimes it's about creating enough distance for everyone to grow into who they're meant to be. To Gibson and Gibson, Dad raised his glass, and to the daughters who made it possible. To finding our own paths, Willow added, to healthy boundaries, Mom said softly. I raised my glass, looking at these familiar strangers who had become the family I always hoped we could be. To new beginnings. And this time, I truly meant it.
The text message from Danny felt like a slap across my face. Can't make it tonight, babe. Work emergency. Right. Because investment bankers have so many emergencies at 7 p.m. on a Friday. I'm Sophia, and I was about to learn just how deep betrayal can cut. He's not coming again? My mother's disapproving voice carried across our family's expansive dining room. This is the third time this month, Sophia. I don't understand why you waste your time with that boy. I gripped my phone tighter, forcing a smile. He's busy, Mom. The market's been volatile lately. The market's always volatile, my cousin Livia chimed in, not bothering to look up from her laptop. But family dinner is family dinner. The aroma of Mom's signature lasagna filled the air, but my appetite had vanished. I'd spent the last 3 years defending Danny to my family, especially to Mom, who never thought he was good enough. The irony was, I was starting to wonder if she might be right. Speaking of business, Dad cleared his throat. Livia, how are those quarterly reports coming along? The board meeting's next week. Almost done, Uncle James. Just need to double-check some numbers with the new accounting software. Something in her tone made me look up. Livia had been handling our family business's finances for the past year, and lately, things felt off. Maybe it was the way she always changed the subject when I asked about specific accounts, or how she'd started taking calls in whispered tones. I could help, I offered, reaching for my wine glass. I did major in finance after all. Livia's head snapped up. No need. I've got it under control. Let her handle it, Sophia, Mom interjected. You're busy enough with your own work. I was about to argue when my phone buzzed again. Danny's name flashed across the screen, but this time it wasn't a message meant for me. Wrong move sending those projections from your work email. Use the secure server next time. S doesn't suspect anything yet. My blood ran cold. The message was clearly meant for someone else. But who was S? Me. Excuse me, I muttered, standing up abruptly. I need some air. I headed toward Dad's study, my mind racing. The door was slightly ajar, and I could hear Livia's voice inside. When had she left the table? Everything's set for next week, she whispered. Danny's got the offshore accounts ready. They'll never trace it back to us. I pressed myself against the wall, heart pounding. No, I'm telling you, it's perfect timing, she continued. With the new software implementation, we can make it look like a system error. By the time anyone figures it out, we'll be long gone with the money. The floor seemed to tilt beneath my feet. Danny and Livia, working together, to steal from my family. Is everything okay? Mom's voice behind me made me jump. Fine, I said quickly, too quickly. Just needed to make a call. Back at the table, I couldn't stop my hands from shaking. Across from me, Livia had returned, cool as ever, typing away on her laptop. My phone buzzed one more time. Sorry about tonight, babe. Make it up to you next week. Dinner at that Italian place you love? I stared at Danny's message, seeing it for what it really was. Another lie in what was probably a long string of them. But this time, I wasn't going to be the naive girlfriend. This time, I needed help from someone who knew Danny better than anyone. I pulled up another contact, Trevor, Danny's estranged older brother. We'd only met a handful of times, and Danny always changed the subject when I asked about him. Now I knew why. Need to talk. It's about Danny. Important. His response came almost immediately. Finally figured it out, did you? Meet me tomorrow, 10 a.m., Riverside Coffee. I looked up to find Livia watching me, her expression unreadable. I forced myself to smile, raising my wineglass in a mock toast. Let them think I was still the same trusting Sophia. Let them think I was blind to their schemes. But tomorrow, everything would change. Because if there's one thing my family taught me, it's that loyalty matters, and betrayal comes with a price. More wine, anyone? I asked, standing to grab another bottle. Inside, I was already planning my next move. Danny and Livia had no idea what was coming. Riverside Coffee was packed with the usual Saturday morning crowd, but I spotted Trevor immediately. He sat in a corner booth, looking exactly like Danny, but somehow completely different. Same dark hair and sharp features, but his eyes held a weight his younger brothers never did. "You look like hell," he said, as I slid into the seat across from him. "Thanks. You look exactly how I remember." I wrapped my hands around the coffee he'd already ordered for me. "Black? 2 sugars?" Danny mentioned it once. Trevor's mouth twisted into a wry smile. "Back when we still talked?" "About that." I leaned forward. "What happened between you two?" "Same thing that's happening to you now." He pulled out his phone, scrolling through files. "Danny has a pattern. Find someone successful, gain their trust, then bleed them dry." My stomach lurched. "He did this to you?" "To my company. 3 years ago, he convinced me to make him CFO of my tech startup. Within 6 months, he'd siphoned off nearly $2 million through a series of fake vendors." Trevor's voice remained steady, but his knuckles whitened around his coffee cup. "By the time I caught on, the damage was done." "Why didn't you press charges?" "Our parents." He laughed without humor. "They believed his lies about me mismanaging the company. Said I was jealous of his success. Haven't spoken to any of them since." I pulled out my phone, showing him the message I'd intercepted. "He's working with my cousin Livia now. They're planning something for next week." Trevor read the message, his expression darkening. "Board meeting, right? When is it?" "Thursday. They've implemented new accounting software recently. Livia said something about making it look like a system error." "Classic Danny." Trevor started typing on his phone. "He did the same thing to me. Created a ghost server that—" The cafe's door chimed. I glanced up and froze. Livia had just walked in. "Don't turn around," I whispered to Trevor. "My cousin just came in." He kept his eyes on his phone. "Take my number. We need to move fast if we're going to stop them." I quickly added his contact information as Livia ordered at the counter. My phone buzzed with a text from Danny. "Miss you. Lunch today?" "Keep playing along," Trevor advised, watching me read the message. "Let them think everything's normal. Meanwhile, I'll have my IT guy look into the new software implementation." "Why are you helping me?" I asked suddenly. "You don't owe me anything." Trevor's eyes met mine, and something shifted in the air between us. Maybe I'm tired of watching my brother destroy people's lives. Or maybe— He paused as Livia walked past our booth, apparently without noticing me. "Maybe I want to make up for not stopping him sooner." "I need proof," I said once Livia had left. "Something concrete to show my family." "We'll get it, but Sophia?" His hand caught mine across the table. "Be careful. Danny's charming, but he's dangerous when cornered. I learned that the hard way." "How did you not see it coming?" The question slipped out before I could stop it. "Same reason you didn't. He's family. You never expect family to betray you." Trevor's phone buzzed. "That's my IT guy. He can meet us tonight to look at the software specs. You in?" I thought about my family's business, built over 3 generations. About my dad's pride when he talked about its legacy. About Danny's lies and Livia's secret calls. "I'm in. But first," I pulled up Danny's text. "I have a lunch date to keep. Sophia." Trevor's voice stopped me as I stood to leave. "Whatever happens, don't let him know you suspect anything. Danny's most dangerous when he feels trapped." I nodded, then hesitated. "Trevor? Thank you for believing me." "Ha, thank me when we take him down." His smile was grim but determined. And Sophia? Be careful with those feelings I see in your eyes. Getting involved with another Gardner brother might not be the wisest move right now. I felt my cheeks flush. I don't know what you're talking about. Sure you don't. He stood, throwing some bills on the table. Meet me at the tech hub at 8 p.m. And remember, act normal with Danny. As I walked to my car, my phone buzzed again. Danny. Can't wait to see you, babe. Got something special planned. I took a deep breath and typed back, can't wait. The game was on, and this time, I wasn't playing by Danny's rules. Lunch with Danny felt like an acting performance. Every laugh, every touch, every kiss, all carefully calculated while my skin crawled beneath his hands. You seem distracted, he said, reaching across the table to touch my cheek. Everything okay at the office? Just stressed about the board meeting. I watched his reaction carefully. Livia's been working so hard on those reports. Ah, yes. His smile didn't quite reach his eyes. She mentioned she's been putting in extra hours. I bet she has, I thought, but said, maybe you could help her? With your financial expertise? Better not. He sipped his wine. Wouldn't want anyone claiming nepotism, right? The rest of lunch passed in a blur of small talk and lies. By the time evening rolled around, I was exhausted from maintaining the charade. The tech hub was housed in an old warehouse, converted into a modern office space. Trevor's IT specialist, Wyatt, looked more like a surfer than a tech genius, but his eyes sparked with intelligence as he examined the software specifications I'd managed to download from Livia's laptop during a coffee spill incident. Oh, this is good, Wyatt whistled, fingers flying across his keyboard. They've created a shadow system within the main accounting software. Every transaction gets mirrored to an offshore account, but the original books show normal operations. Trevor leaned over Wyatt's shoulder. Can you trace the destination? Working on it, but... Wyatt's screen filled with code. They're routing it through multiple shells. Cayman Islands, Switzerland, Singapore. How much? I asked, dreading the answer. Wyatt's fingers paused. Based on these patterns, close to 5 million so far. The room spun. I grabbed the edge of the desk to steady myself. That's not all, Wyatt continued. There's a massive transfer scheduled for next Thursday, right after your board meeting. How massive? Trevor's voice was tight. 20 million. That would bankrupt us, I whispered. The company wouldn't survive. Trevor's hand found my shoulder. We won't let that happen. Got something, Wyatt exclaimed. Look at this email chain. It's encrypted, but... His fingers flew across the keyboard. There, between Danny and Livia. The decoded messages appeared on screen. My heart stopped as I read. Board meeting confirmed for Thursday. S's father still suspects nothing. Once the transfer clears, we'll be untraceable. What about S? She's getting suspicious. Don't worry about her. I've got her wrapped around my finger. Besides, by the time she figures it out, we'll be long gone. Together. Together. The word burned in my brain. I think I'm going to be sick, I muttered. There's more, Wyatt said quietly. They've been planning this for over a year. Look at the date these accounts were set up. It was 2 weeks after Danny and I had started dating. Son of a bitch, Trevor growled. He targeted you specifically. Used you to get close to the company. My phone buzzed. Danny again. Missing you already? Dinner tomorrow? We need to move faster, I said, showing them the message. The board meeting's in 5 days. We need concrete proof, Trevor replied. Something that can't be explained away. Wyatt raised his hand. I might have an idea, but it's risky. I'm listening. We set up a honeypot. Make them think they found an even bigger score. When they try to access it, we catch them in the act, Trevor finished. Exactly. But we'd need someone on the inside. Someone they trust completely. They both looked at me. No, Trevor said immediately. It's too dangerous. It's our best shot, I argued. They already trust me, and I can get access to everything through Livia. Sophia, I can do this, Trevor. I met his concerned gaze. I have to. My phone buzzed again. This time it was Livia. Hey cuz, need your help with something tomorrow. Early morning coffee? Perfect timing. I showed them the message. Looks like my chance is coming sooner than we thought. Be careful. Trevor's hand lingered on mine. If they suspect anything, they won't. I squared my shoulders. I learned from the best, right? Time to beat them at their own game. As I left the tech hub that night, another message from Danny lit up my phone. Sweet dreams, beautiful. Can't wait to spend the rest of my life with you. I typed back, me too, babe, forever. The lies came easier now. Maybe because I finally understood. Sometimes you have to embrace the darkness to bring light to the truth. Tomorrow, Operation Honeypot would begin, and Danny and Livia would never see it coming. Early morning coffee with Livia turned out to be exactly the opening we needed. She arrived at the cafe looking stressed, her usually perfect hair slightly disheveled. I need a huge favor, she said, sliding into the seat across from me. The new software's giving me hell with the board presentation. Whatever you need, I replied, channeling all my sincerity into those 3 words. Could you help me review the numbers? There's so much data to sort through, and with the meeting just days away. Of course. I took a sip of my latte to hide my smile. We can start today if you want. The next few hours were a masterclass in deception, from both of us. While Livia thought she was cleverly limiting my access to certain files, I was secretly copying everything to the encrypted drive Wyatt had given me. My phone buzzed periodically with updates from Trevor, who was monitoring the data transfer remotely. Each message made my heart race, but not entirely from fear. Got another batch of evidence. You're doing great. Stay safe. Around noon, Danny showed up unexpectedly at the office. My stomach clenched as he wrapped his arms around me from behind. Surprise, beautiful. His lips brushed my ear. Thought I'd take my 2 favorite women to lunch. I felt Livia tense slightly before her face broke into a bright smile. Perfect timing. I'm starving. Over lunch, I watched their subtle interactions with new eyes, the way they avoided direct eye contact, how their hands never quite reached for the shared breadbasket at the same time. They were good, but not good enough. Actually, I said, setting down my fork, I've been thinking about something. They both looked at me, and I forced myself to appear nervous, vulnerable. Dad mentioned setting up a trust fund for me. Something about early inheritance tax benefits. I watched their expressions carefully. It's quite substantial. Danny's eyes lit up for a fraction of a second before he controlled his expression. That's wonderful, babe. When does it come through? Next week, right after the board meeting. I looked down at my plate. I was hoping you could help me manage it, Danny. You're so good with money. Of course. He reached for my hand, squeezing it. Anything for you. Later that evening, I met Trevor at his apartment to review our progress. Wyatt had set up a command center of sorts in Trevor's home office, monitors displaying various data streams and security feeds. They took the bait, I said, collapsing onto Trevor's couch. Hook, line, and sinker. You're incredible. Trevor handed me a glass of wine. But watching you with him today... Jealous? The word slipped out before I could stop it. Trevor's eyes met mine, intense and unguarded. Yes. The air between us crackled with tension. He moved closer, his hand brushing my cheek. This is probably a terrible idea, I whispered. Definitely, he agreed, but didn't move away. We should focus on the plan. Absolutely. Neither of us moved. Trevor, His lips met mine, soft at first, then with increasing urgency. For a moment, I forgot about Danny, about Livia, about everything except the feel of Trevor's arms around me. Then, my phone buzzed. Danny's name on the screen brought reality crashing back. We can't, I pulled away reluctantly. Not yet, not until this is over. Trevor nodded, running a hand through his hair. You're right. I'm sorry. I shouldn't have. Don't apologize. I touched his cheek. Just, rain check? He smiled, but his eyes were serious. Be careful tomorrow. The closer we get to exposing them, the more dangerous they become. I know. I checked Danny's message. Miss you. Sweet dreams. Beautiful. The fake trust fund documents are ready, Wyatt called from the office. They'll stand up to basic scrutiny, but anyone digging deep will see they're bogus. Perfect. I stood up, straightening my clothes. That's exactly what we need. Sophia? Trevor caught my hand as I headed for the door. What happened tonight? Was exactly what I needed to stay strong, I finished for him. But right now, I need to focus on taking down your brother. He nodded, understanding in his eyes. Tomorrow then. Same time? Same time. I squeezed his hand before leaving. And Trevor, that rain check? I plan to cash it in. As I drove home, my phone lit up one last time. Livia. Thanks for your help today, cuz. Danny's right. You're the best thing that ever happened to us. I smiled grimly at the road ahead. They had no idea just how right they were. The fake trust fund documents sat innocently on Livia's desk as I pretended to review more financial reports. It took exactly 6 minutes for her to take the bait. Oh my God, she breathed, picking up the papers. Sophia, is this real? Dad just gave them to me yesterday. I feigned embarrassment. I haven't even told Danny yet. Her fingers trembled slightly as she read the numbers. $30 million, all conveniently scheduled to be transferred the day after the board meeting. You should tell Danny right away, she said, trying to keep her voice casual. He'd want to know about this. I was thinking of surprising him. I bit my lip. Maybe you could help me set up the accounts, since you're so good with the new software. Of course. She grabbed her phone. Let me just make a quick call. I pretended to focus on my computer screen while straining to hear her whispered conversation in the hallway. Through my earpiece, Wyatt confirmed he was recording everything. It's even bigger than we thought, she hissed into her phone. 30 million? Yes, I'm sure. No, she suspects nothing. Tomorrow night? Okay. Yes, I'll handle the transfers myself. My phone buzzed with a text from Trevor. Got it all. They're planning something for tomorrow night. Be careful. Danny showed up at the office an hour later, practically glowing with fake charm. Ladies, he announced, holding up a bottle of champagne. I think we need to celebrate. Celebrate what? I asked innocently. Just life. He winked at me. And love, and new beginnings. Livia excused herself, leaving us alone in the office. Danny pulled me close, his kiss more possessive than usual. You know I love you, right? He murmured against my hair. Everything I do, it's all for our future. I fought back the urge to push him away. I love you too. Then trust me. His eyes bore into mine. No matter what happens in the next few days, trust that it's all for us. The intensity of his gaze sent chills down my spine. For the first time, I glimpsed the predator beneath the charm. Later that evening, I met Trevor and Wyatt at our usual spot. The tech hub was quiet, most workers gone for the day. They're accelerating their timeline, Wyatt announced, showing us surveillance footage of Livia entering the office at midnight the previous night. She's been setting up new transfer protocols. Tomorrow night, Trevor confirmed. They're planning to take everything, your family's money and the trust fund they think exists. We need to stop them before... I broke off as my phone lit up with a text from Livia. Hey cuz, noticed you left your laptop at the office. Don't worry, I'll keep it safe. See you tomorrow. Shit, I jumped up. My real files are on that laptop. It's okay, Wyatt assured me. Everything's encrypted. They won't be able to... Wait. Trevor held up his hand. This might work in our favor. Let them think they've found something. But if they break the encryption, they won't, Wyatt grinned. But they'll try. And when they do, we'll have proof of attempted corporate espionage, Trevor finished. My phone buzzed again. Danny this time. Can't stop thinking about you. Dinner at my place tomorrow night? Perfect timing, Trevor said, reading over my shoulder. Keep them separated. I'll handle Livia while you keep Danny distracted. No. I stood up, pacing. It's too risky. If anything happens to you, nothing will happen. Trevor caught my shoulders, stopping my nervous movement. Trust me. That's what Danny just said. I met his eyes. But I only trust one Gardner brother. The tension from the previous night returned, electric and undeniable. Trevor's hands slid down my arms. Guys. Wyatt cleared his throat. Not to interrupt, but we've got movement. Livia's accessing the laptop now. We sprang apart, focusing on the monitors. Lines of code scrolled across the screen as Livia attempted to breach the encryption. Got her, Wyatt whispered triumphantly. Every attempt is being recorded and traced. My phone lit up one final time. A message from my mother. Darling, don't forget family dinner tomorrow night. No excuses this time. I stared at the message, a plan forming. Actually, I said slowly, I think it's time we moved this out of the shadows. Tomorrow night, we end this. At family dinner. Trevor raised an eyebrow. You want to expose them in front of everyone? What better way to ensure they can't talk their way out of it? I smiled grimly. Besides, my mother always said sunshine is the best disinfectant. It's risky, Trevor warned. So is falling for my ex-boyfriend's brother, I countered. But here we are. His answering smile was both tender and dangerous. Here we are indeed. Tomorrow, everything would change. One way or another, the truth would finally see the light of day. The day of the family dinner, everything moved at lightning speed. Wyatt had set up hidden cameras throughout our dining room, while I kept my mother distracted with questions about table settings. Darling, since when do you care about proper placement of dessert forks? Mom asked, eyeing me suspiciously. Just trying to be more involved, I smiled, adjusting a napkin, while Wyatt finished concealing the last microphone. Is Danny still coming? Of course, and Livia's bringing that new laptop of hers. Says she has some exciting business presentations to share. I bet she does, I thought. Trevor and I met one last time at the tech hub before dinner. Wyatt had transformed the space into a command center, multiple screens displaying various camera feeds from my house. Everything's in place, he announced. The moment they try to initiate any transfers, we'll have them. Remember, Trevor gripped my shoulders. Let them make the first move. We need concrete proof. I know. I straightened his tie. He'd be arriving as my surprise guest. Just stay close to me? His hand cupped my cheek. Always. The doorbell rang at exactly 7. Danny arrived first, carrying wine and wearing his most charming smile. Mrs. Gardner. He kissed my mother's cheek. You look lovely as ever. Mom beamed. Such a gentleman. Sophia, why don't you help Danny with the wine? In the kitchen, Danny pressed me against the counter, his lips finding mine. It took everything I had not to push him away. Tonight's going to be special, he whispered. I have a surprise for you. Can't wait, I managed to say. Livia arrived next, laptop bag clutched tightly to her chest. Sorry I'm late. Had to finish some last-minute preparations. For the board meeting tomorrow? Dad asked. Something like that, she smiled, setting up her computer at the dining table. The doorbell rang again. Showtime. I hope you don't mind, I announced, walking to the door, but I invited someone else. Trevor stepped into the room. Danny's wine glass froze halfway to his lips. What is he doing here? Danny's voice was deadly quiet. Trevor? Mom looked confused. I didn't know you two were... We've been seeing each other, I said clearly, watching Danny's face. Professionally. He's been helping me understand some financial matters. The color drained from Livia's face. Her fingers twitched toward her laptop. Brother, Danny's smile was razor sharp. What a surprise. Danny, Trevor nodded coolly. Livia, interesting software you're running there. Livia slammed her laptop shut. Just work stuff, nothing interesting. Really? I moved to stand beside Trevor. Not even the offshore accounts? Or the transfer protocols set for tonight? The room went deadly silent. Sophia. Danny's voice was soft, dangerous. What are you talking about? Show them, I nodded to Trevor. He pulled out his phone, projecting screenshots onto the dining room wall. Bank statements, transfer records, encrypted emails between Danny and Livia. What is this? Dad stood up, staring at the numbers. Your daughter and my brother are confused, Danny started, but Trevor cut him off. 5 million already stolen, 20 million more scheduled for tomorrow, plus the 30 million they thought they were getting from Sophia's trust fund. Trust fund? Mom looked bewildered. What trust fund? The fake one we created to trap them, I explained. They took the bait, just like they took everything else. Livia lunged for her laptop, but Wyatt emerged from the kitchen, holding up a hard drive. Looking for this? Already copied everything, including your midnight activities from yesterday. You don't understand. Danny reached for me, but Trevor stepped between us. Baby, everything I did was for us. Save it. I held up my phone, playing the recording of his conversation with Livia. We have everything. James, Mom whispered to Dad, call the police. No need. Trevor smiled grimly. They're already here? On cue, officers stepped in from the garden and front door. I watched as realization dawned on Danny's face. He'd been outplayed at his own game. You set me up, he snarled at me. After everything you did to me? I stepped closer, finally letting my anger show. You never loved me. I was just your ticket to my family's money. And you, he turned to Trevor, my own brother. You stopped being my brother the day you stole from me, Trevor replied calmly. Consider this karma. As the police led Danny and Livia away, Mom collapsed into a chair. All this time, she whispered, right under our noses. I'm sorry, Mom. I knelt beside her. I had to be sure before I said anything. Dad placed a hand on my shoulder. You did good, sweetheart, both of you. He nodded to Trevor. Monsieur, speaking of which, Mom's eyes narrowed at our joined hands. Is there something else you want to tell us? I looked at Trevor, seeing my future in his eyes. Actually, I smiled, there is. The night wasn't over yet, but the hardest part was done. Now came the fun part, explaining to my parents why I was falling for my ex-boyfriend's brother. But that, at least, was a story worth telling. The police station buzzed with activity as Danny and Livia were processed. I sat in the detective's office, watching through the window as they were photographed and fingerprinted. Miss, Detective Martinez leaned forward. Can you walk us through the timeline one more time? Trevor squeezed my hand under the table as I recounted everything. The intercepted messages, the fake trust fund, the recordings. Wyatt had provided all the technical evidence, laying out the digital trail of breadcrumbs that led straight to Danny and Livia. The total amount they attempted to steal, Martinez consulted his notes, comes to $55 million? That we know of, Trevor added. There might be more we haven't uncovered yet. Danny's lawyer arrived, all expensive suit and rehearsed confidence. Through the glass, I watched Danny lean in, whispering frantically. He's trying to cut a deal, Martinez explained, following my gaze. Offering to testify against Livia in exchange for leniency. Of course he is. Trevor's voice was bitter. He did the same thing when he stole from me. The door opened, and my parents walked in with our family lawyer. Mom's eyes were red but determined. We want to press full charges, Dad announced. No deals. Dad! I started, but he held up his hand. No, Sophia. They betrayed this family, both of them. He turned to Martinez. We have evidence of similar schemes at 3 other companies. Pattern of behavior. Danny's head snapped up at that, eyes widening as he saw my father through the glass. The confident mask slipped, revealing raw panic underneath. Let me talk to him, I said suddenly. Absolutely not, Trevor and Mom said simultaneously. I need to. I stood up. I need to know why. Martinez nodded to the officer, and moments later, I sat across from Danny in the interrogation room. He looked smaller somehow, without his designer suit and practiced charm. Come to gloat? He asked quietly. No, I came to understand. I leaned forward. Was any of it real? Does it matter now? It matters to me. Danny ran his hands through his disheveled hair. You weren't supposed to be so smart, so good. It would have been easier if you were stupid. Like the others. The others were Mark's. His eyes met mine. You complicated things. By falling in love with you? By making me almost want to change. He laughed hollowly. But old habits, right? Trevor warned me about you. Trevor! Danny spat the name. My perfect older brother, always doing the right thing. And now, he gets you too. He didn't get me, I corrected. He earned my trust, something you never understood. A commotion erupted outside. Through the window, I saw Livia being led to another room, screaming. It was all his idea. He planned everything. I just did what he told me to. Danny's face hardened. Looks like Cousin Livia's singing already. Was she really worth it? I asked. Betraying everyone for her? She was convenient. He shrugged. Like you were supposed to be. I stood up, finally seeing him clearly. You know what's sad? You had everything. Family, love, opportunities. And you threw it all away for money. Says the girl born with a silver spoon. No, Trevor's voice came from the doorway. Says the girl who just saved her family's legacy from a con man. Danny lunged forward, but the officers were faster. As they restrained him, he shouted, You think you've won? You think this is over? It was over the moment you underestimated her, Trevor replied calmly, taking my hand. Outside the interrogation room, Martinez confirmed they had everything they needed. With the evidence you provided and their conflicting testimonies, we're looking at significant prison time for both of them. Mom pulled me into a fierce hug. I'm so sorry I ever pushed you toward him. It's okay, Mom, I hugged her back. We all got fooled. Not all of us. Dad looked at Trevor appreciatively. Thank you for helping expose this. Sir, Trevor straightened. About my relationship with Sophia. Save it for dinner tomorrow, Mom interrupted, a slight smile playing on her lips. I think we've had enough drama for one day. As we left the station, I heard Danny's voice one last time. Sophia, this isn't over. But it was. The security footage, the financial records, the encrypted emails, everything pointed to years of calculated fraud. Danny and Livia weren't just facing charges from us, but from every company they'd scammed. Ready to go home? Trevor asked softly. I looked back at the station one last time, then at the man beside me, the one who'd helped me uncover the truth and find justice. Yes, I smiled, taking his hand. I'm ready. Behind us, the sun was setting on one chapter of my life. But ahead, that story was just beginning. The courthouse steps were crowded with reporters as the verdict was read. Danny and Livia had been sentenced to 15 years each, with no possibility of early parole. As the journalists shouted questions, Trevor guided me through the crowd to where my parents waited. It's really over. Mom squeezed my hand. How do you feel? Lighter, I replied, watching Danny being led away in handcuffs. He caught my eye one last time, but the sight no longer filled me with dread or anger, just pity. The company's quarterly reports came in, Dad announced as we walked to the car. We've already recovered most of the stolen funds, and the new security protocols are working perfectly. Speaking of the company, I straightened my shoulders. I've been thinking about taking a more active role. Dad stopped walking. You mean, if you'll have me, I smiled. Someone needs to keep an eye on those accounts. We'd love that. Mom wiped away a tear. But what about your plans with Trevor? Trevor wrapped an arm around my waist. Actually, we have an announcement. If it's about the wedding, we already know, Dad chuckled. Trevor asked for my blessing last week. Not just the wedding. I held up a business proposal. Trevor's tech company is developing new security software. We thought maybe a merger would be beneficial for both families. Mom grabbed the proposal, scanning it quickly. This is brilliant. A perfect blend of both companies' strengths. And a fresh start for the Gardner name, Trevor added. Something good to replace what Danny tainted. Back at the house, Wyatt was waiting with champagne and news. The last of the hidden accounts has been traced, he announced. Every penny is being returned to the victims. To justice, Dad raised his glass. And family, Mom added, giving Trevor a warm smile. Speaking of family, I cleared my throat. There's one more thing. I handed Mom an envelope. Inside were adoption papers. Trevor was officially taking in his teenage cousin, whose parents had abandoned her just like Danny had abandoned his responsibilities. Sarah needs a home, Trevor explained, and we have plenty of room in our hearts. Mom's eyes welled up again. When does she arrive? Tomorrow, I smiled. We thought maybe her new grandmother could help decorate her room. The joy on Mom's face was worth everything we'd been through. Later that evening, Trevor and I stood in our garden, watching the sunset. The engagement ring caught the fading light, sparkling like our future. Having second thoughts? He asked softly. About any of it? About marrying you? Never. I turned to face him. About running a company, raising a teenager, and merging two family legacies? Maybe a little terrified. Good thing you're not doing it alone. He pulled me closer. We make a pretty good team. Better than Danny and Livia, at least, I joked. Speaking of which, Trevor's expression turned serious. Sarah asked about him, about why her cousin's in prison. What did you tell her? The truth. That sometimes people make bad choices, but that doesn't mean we stop giving others a chance at love and trust. From inside, we heard laughter. Mom and Dad reviewing Sarah's room designs with Wyatt, who'd somehow become part of our extended family, too. You know what Danny never understood? I watched my family through the window. That real wealth isn't in bank accounts. It's in moments like this. Getting philosophical on me? Trevor teased. No, getting honest. I faced him again. I thought I lost everything when I discovered Danny's betrayal. Instead, I found everything I never knew I needed. The porch light flickered on, and Mom called us in for dinner. Another family tradition, but now with new meanings and members. Ready to build our own legacy? Trevor held out his hand. I took it, feeling the strength of his grip and the promise in his touch. As long as it includes regular family dinners and absolutely no secret offshore accounts. Deal! He kissed me softly, though I do have one secret. Oh? I've loved you since that first coffee shop meeting. Even when we were plotting revenge, all I could think was, please don't let her be like him. And you weren't. You were so much more. Mom called again, more insistently this time. We should go in, I laughed, before she sends a search party. Lead the way, future Mrs. Gardner. That's future CEO Mrs. Gardner to you. His laughter followed me inside, where our family waited. Not the family I was born into, or the one I almost married into, but the one I chose, the one that chose me back. Sometimes the best revenge isn't serving justice, it's finding happiness despite those who tried to steal it from you. And that's exactly what we did.
The text message from Christine lit up my phone screen. Emergency family meeting. Tonight, 7 p.m. Don't you dare say no. I stared at those words, my stomach already knotting. Being the successful one in the family meant every emergency meeting inevitably led to the same thing. Someone needed money. Again. My name is Zara, and I've spent the last decade being my family's personal ATM. While they see a thriving businesswoman who has it easy, they don't see the 80-hour weeks or the sacrifices I've made to build my consulting firm from scratch. You're not seriously going, are you? Sierra asked, watching me gather my things from across our shared office space. That's the third emergency this month. What choice do I have? I sighed, slipping on my blazer. Last time I missed one, Dad didn't speak to me for 2 weeks. Maybe that wasn't such a bad thing, she muttered, but I pretended not to hear. I arrived at Christine's house at 7:05 p.m. Everyone was already there, scattered around her living room like vultures waiting to feast. Theo sprawled on the couch, probably hiding another betting slip in his pocket. Adeline sat cross-legged on the floor, perfectly manicured nails tapping away at her phone. Dad occupied his usual armchair, looking stern as ever. "Finally!" Christine exclaimed. "We've been waiting." "Some of us have to work," I replied, choosing to stand rather than sit. "What's the emergency?" "We're planning a family reunion," Adeline piped up, finally looking up from her phone. "Everyone's coming. Aunts, uncles, cousins, even Great-Aunt Martha." I waited for the other shoe to drop. "We need you to fund it," Christine said, as if announcing the weather. "The venue alone is 5,000, and then there's catering, decorations." "No." The word left my mouth before I could stop it. The room fell silent. 5 pairs of eyes stared at me in disbelief. "What do you mean, no?" Theo sat up straight. "It's for family." "I mean no," I repeated, stronger this time. "I'm done being the family bank." Christine's face reddened. "After everything we've done for you." "Everything you've done for me?" I laughed, but there was no humour in it. "Like what, Christine?" "Like borrowing 10 grand for your business venture that never happened? Or you, Theo, the gambling debt I covered last Christmas?" "That's different," Theo protested. "I was in trouble." "You're always in trouble," my voice rose. "All of you, always needing something, always taking, never giving back. I'm tired of it." "Zara," Dad's voice carried that familiar note of disapproval. "This is about family unity. Your mother would have wanted—" "Don't." I held up my hand. "Don't you dare use Mom to manipulate me. She would have wanted you all to stand on your own 2 feet. "You've changed," Adeline said quietly. "Success has made you selfish." That word, selfish, hit me like a slap. I'd heard it so many times over the years whenever I dared to say no, whenever I tried to set boundaries. "You want to talk about selfish?" I grabbed my purse. "Look in the mirror, all of you, I'm done." "If you walk out that door," Christine called after me, "don't expect us to be there when you need us." I paused at the doorway, turning back one last time. When have you ever been there when I needed you? The door slammed behind me with a satisfying bang. In my car, hands shaking on the steering wheel, I felt something shift inside me. Years of resentment crystallized into determination. My phone buzzed continuously, messages from all of them, ranging from guilt trips to outright threats. I switched it off. At home, I poured myself a glass of wine and called Sierra. "How bad was it?" she asked. "I finally did it," I said, surprising myself with how steady my voice was. "I said no." "About damn time," she paused. "Are you okay?" "No," I admitted, "but I will be. They need to learn they can't keep using me like this. They need to learn about consequences." "What are you going to do?" I took a long sip of wine, an idea forming in my mind. "I'm going to teach them a lesson they'll never forget, something that will either make them or break them." "Zara." Sierra's voice held a note of warning. "Don't worry," I said, already opening my laptop. "This isn't about revenge. It's about growth. They just don't know it yet." As I began typing, I felt lighter than I had in years. Sometimes, the kindest thing you can do for someone is to stop enabling them. And if my plan worked, my family would thank me for it someday, or hate me forever. Either way, I was done being their safety net. The fluorescent lights of the emergency room buzzed overhead as I tried to make sense of what had happened. 1 minute I was presenting to clients, the next I was doubled over, unable to breathe. Now here I was, hooked up to monitors, watching my blood pressure numbers dance across the screen. "Ms. Whitney?" A doctor in blue scrubs approached my bed. "I'm Dr. Reynolds. Your test results show you've experienced a severe panic attack, complicated by exhaustion and dangerously high stress levels." I almost laughed. "Stress? I can't be here for stress. I have meetings tomorrow, deadlines." "You're not going anywhere," he interrupted firmly. "Your body is sending you a clear message. Ignore it, and next time could be much worse." A nurse appeared with admission papers. "We're keeping you for observation, at least 48 hours. My phone lit up again. Another message from Christine. I'd been ignoring them all week, but curiosity got the better of me. "Hope you're proud of yourself. Dad's devastated. The reunion's cancelled, thanks to you. The monitor beeped as my heart rate spiked. I'll take that, the nurse said, plucking the phone from my hands. Doctor's orders, no stress triggers. Later that evening, Sierra arrived with an overnight bag and my laptop. Don't even think about working, she warned, seeing my eyes light up at the sight of my computer. But I thought you might want to handle some personal matters. Like what? She sat on the edge of my bed, her expression serious. Like your will, Zara. This is a wake-up call. What if it had been something worse? I started to protest, but the words died in my throat. She was right. If something happened to me, my family would tear each other apart over my assets. I need a lawyer, I said finally. Already called Barrett, Sierra replied. He's on his way. Barrett arrived an hour later, leather briefcase in hand. As Emery's brother and a family friend, he knew exactly what I was dealing with. Interesting timing, he said, pulling up a chair. Emery told me about the reunion drama. Then you understand why this needs to be done carefully, I replied. I want to help them, Barrett, but not in the way they expect. He opened his briefcase. I'm listening. For the next 2 hours, we crafted something that was part will, part intervention. Each family member would receive a letter leading them to a specific charity or organization that mirrored their personal struggles. Christine needs to understand what real need looks like, I explained, watching Barrett take notes. Send her to the women's shelter downtown. Theo should work with gambling addiction support groups. Adeline. I paused. Youth self-esteem programs. She needs to see beyond appearances. And the inheritance? Barrett asked. They'll get it, but only after 6 months of documented volunteer work with their assigned organizations. No shortcuts, no buying their way out. Barrett whistled low. They're going to be furious. Good, I said, feeling a strange calm settle over me. Maybe fury will motivate them to change. What about your father? I closed my eyes briefly. The Veterans Center. He needs to remember what real sacrifice looks like. As Barrett drafted the document, Sierra squeezed my hand. Are you sure about this? For the first time in years, yes. I opened my eyes, looking at the hospital ceiling. They need this. I need this. There's one more thing, Barrett said, looking up from his paperwork. To make this legally binding, we need to inform them while you're still in the hospital. It adds weight to the situation. You want me to tell them now? He nodded. I'll call them in tomorrow. Let them think it's worse than it is. Sometimes people need a shock to wake them up. The thought of facing them made my chest tight, but the monitor's steady beeping reminded me why I was here in the first place. Do it, I said. Call them all in. It's time they understood what they've done to me. After they left, I lay in the darkness, listening to the quiet hum of hospital machinery. My phone sat silent in the drawer, but I could imagine the messages piling up, the missed calls, the family group chat exploding with drama. For the first time since Mom died, I felt like I was taking control back. Maybe it was the medication, maybe it was the exhaustion, but I smiled as I drifted off to sleep. Tomorrow everything would change. They'd either hate me for it or thank me later, but either way, I was done being their crutch. Sometimes the biggest act of love is forcing people to stand on their own. The thought followed me into my dreams, where for once I wasn't running to anyone's rescue. I was simply standing still, watching them learn to save themselves. They filed into my hospital room like mourners at a funeral, faces drawn with worry and barely concealed expectation. Christine clutched her designer handbag like a shield. Theo couldn't stop fidgeting. Adeline kept glancing at her reflection in the window. Dad took the chair closest to my bed, trying to look concerned rather than calculating. Barrett stood by the window, briefcase ready. Sierra positioned herself near the door, arms crossed, watching. "Oh, sweetie," Christine started, her voice dripping with manufactured sympathy. "Why didn't you tell us you were so ill?" "Because I'm not," I replied flatly. "I'm here because of stress, because of you, all of you." The room fell silent. "What's he doing here?" Theo asked, jerking his chin toward Barrett. I've asked Barrett to help me revise my will, I said, watching their expressions shift. Recent events have made me realize some changes are necessary. Christine straightened up immediately. Of course, you need to protect your assets. I completely understand. Let me finish, I cut her off. Barrett, the letters, please. He opened his briefcase and distributed 4 sealed envelopes. My family stared at them like they might explode. Open them, I instructed. The sound of tearing paper filled the room. I watched their faces transform as they read. Confusion, shock, anger, disbelief. This is a joke, right? Adeline was the first to speak. You want me to work at some youth centre? For 6 months? A gambling addiction centre? Theo crumpled his letter. Have you lost your mind? Christine's face had gone pale. A women's shelter? I don't. You can and you will, I said firmly. If you want any part of my estate, these are my terms. 6 months of documented volunteer work at your assigned organisations. No exceptions, no buying your way out. This is ridiculous, Dad exploded, waving his letter. The Veterans Centre? I served my country. Exactly, I interrupted. So, you should have no problem serving again, this time by helping others who've sacrificed everything. And if we refuse, Christine demanded, then you get nothing. I kept my voice steady. My entire estate will go to these organisations instead. You can't do this. Theo stood up, pacing. It's not legal. Actually, Barrett stepped forward, it's completely legal. I've drawn up all the necessary documentation. Zara's conditions are clear and binding. This is revenge, Adeline accused, tears smearing her perfect makeup. For the reunion thing. No, I said softly. This is an intervention. Look at yourselves. Really look. Christine, when's the last time you earned your own money? Theo, how many times have I bailed you out? Adeline, do you even know who you are beneath all that superficial perfection? And me? Dad's voice was dangerous and low. What's my great sin? Enabling them, I replied, teaching them that taking from others is easier than standing on their own feet. You're our sister, Christine pleaded. Our daughter. Family helps family. I'm not helping by being your human ATM. I gestured at the hospital room. Look where it's gotten me. This stops now. Sierra stepped forward. I think Zara needs to rest. You all have your letters. The choice is yours. Choice? Theo laughed bitterly. This is blackmail. No, I corrected him. This is tough love. Something I should have done years ago. They left one by one, Dad last of all. He paused at the door, looking back at me with an expression I couldn't read. Your mother would be ashamed, he said quietly. No, Dad, I replied, feeling tears prick my eyes. Mum would have done this years ago. She was stronger than any of us. After they left, Sierra sat on the edge of my bed. Well, that went about as well as expected. Barrett gathered his papers. They'll come around. Or they won't. Either way, you've done the right thing. Have I? I whispered, suddenly uncertain. You should have seen their faces. I did, Sierra squeezed my hand, and beneath all that anger I saw something else. Fear, because for the first time, they're facing consequences. My phone buzzed. A message from Emery. Barrett told me what you did. About time someone shook them up. I'm here if you need me. I smiled slightly, remembering why Emery was the only family member who didn't get a letter. He'd built his business from scratch, never asking for handouts. Get some rest, Sierra ordered. The hard part's over. But as I lay there watching the sun set through my hospital window, I knew she was wrong. The hard part was just beginning. For all of us. 2 weeks after my hospital release, Sierra drove me to the women's shelter where Christine was supposed to be volunteering. We sat in the car watching the entrance. She won't show, I said, checking my watch. $10 says you're wrong, Sierra replied, pointing at a familiar figure hurrying up the street. Christine looked different. No designer bag, no expensive jewellery. Her hair was pulled back in a simple ponytail, and she wore jeans and a plain sweater. She hesitated at the entrance, then squared her shoulders and went inside. Well, I'll be damned, I muttered. 1 down, 3 to go, Sierra said, starting the car. Where to next? The gambling addiction centre was across town. We found Theo outside smoking a cigarette, deep in conversation with an older man. As we watched, the man broke down crying. Theo awkwardly patted his shoulder, then pulled out his phone and appeared to be showing him something. "That's Marcus," a voice said behind us. We turned to see the centre's director. "Your brother's been helping him set up a budgeting app. Seems Theo has quite a knack for connecting with our members. Takes one to know one, I suppose." My throat tightened. "He's actually showing up regularly?" "3 times a week, like clockwork. Even started attending the sessions himself." The youth centre was next. Through the window, we spotted Adeline sitting in a circle with teenage girls. Her face was bare of makeup, and she was gesturing animatedly as she spoke. One of the girls wiped away tears while nodding. "What's she saying?" I wondered aloud. A staff member passing by overheard me, sharing her story about social media addiction and body image issues. The girls really relate to her. She's organising a real beauty workshop for next week. "Adeline, my sister Adeline," the woman nodded. "She's been a revelation. Says she's finally finding purpose beyond her Instagram followers." Last stop was the Veterans Centre. My stomach churned as we pulled into the parking lot. Dad's car was there, but so were several others I recognised from family gatherings. Inside, we found Dad in the recreation room, playing chess with an elderly veteran. Uncle Rob was helping with physical therapy, and Aunt Jane was organising care packages. "Your father's been talking up the centre to everyone he knows," the coordinator told me. "He's recruited half his golf club as volunteers. Says it reminds him of the camaraderie he felt in service." "I don't understand," I said to Sierra as we left. "They're actually doing it. All of them." "Maybe they needed a push," she suggested. "Or maybe they needed purpose more than they needed money." That evening, my phone lit up with a message from Christine. "Met a woman today. 3 kids escaping abuse. Reminded me of Mom before she met Dad. Never realised how lucky we were." Then Theo. "Helped a guy today. He lost everything to betting, just like I almost did. Feels good to be on the other side." Adeline sent a selfie, her face natural, surrounded by smiling teenage girls. "They think I'm inspiring them, but it's the other way around." Dad's message was last and shortest. "Your mother would be proud of all of us." I sat on my couch reading and rereading the messages. Sierra brought me a glass of wine. "Having second thoughts about your revenge plan?" she asked. "It wasn't about revenge," I protested. "Not really." "No?" She raised an eyebrow. "Okay, maybe a little," I admitted. "But I never expected this." My phone buzzed again. A message from Barrett. "Emery and I dropped by the Veterans Centre today. Your dad introduced us to everyone as my daughter's family. First time he's acknowledged me as anything but his lawyer." "You know what the funny thing is?" I said to Sierra. "I thought I was teaching them a lesson about money, about not depending on me, but they're learning something else entirely. They're learning who they are without the safety net," Sierra nodded, "without the roles they've been playing their whole lives. The entitled sister, the gambling brother, the vain sister, the demanding father." I took a sip of wine. Maybe those were just masks they got stuck behind. "And what about you?" Sierra asked. "What mask are you taking off?" I thought about it. The savior, the ATM, the one who always has to fix everything. "And how does it feel?" I smiled, remembering Christine's message, Theo's determination, Adeline's bare face, Dad's simple words. "It feels like freedom," I said. "For all of us." Sierra raised her glass. "To freedom, then. And to karma, which turns out to be a better teacher than any of us could have planned." We clinked glasses, and I felt the last knot of tension in my chest finally begin to unwind. Sometimes the best revenge isn't revenge at all. It's giving people the chance to surprise themselves. The family meeting wasn't my idea. Christine called it. 1 month into their volunteer work. This time we met at my house. Neutral territory. They arrived together and I barely recognized them. Christine's designer clothes had been replaced with practical wear. Theo's nervous energy had calmed, and Adeline's face showed actual laugh lines instead of Botox. "We need to talk," Christine said as they settled into my living room. About what you did to us. I braced myself. Okay, talk. You manipulated us, Theo started. Used your money to force us into this. You're right, I admitted. I did. You had no right, Adeline added, but her voice lacked its usual bite. Maybe not, I agreed. But tell me honestly, would you have done any of this otherwise? Silence filled the room. I met a woman today, Christine said suddenly. She reminded me of me, constantly asking her sister for money, making excuses, playing victim. I watched her and felt ashamed. At least you didn't gamble away your kid's college fund, Theo muttered. Had to talk down a guy today who did exactly that. Kept thinking about all the times I promised to stop betting, all the times you bailed me out. My girls, Adeline said softly. She'd started calling the teenagers at the centre her girls. They showed me their Instagram accounts today, all the filters, the editing. I saw myself in every single one of them. That desperate need to be perfect. Dad cleared his throat. The men at the centre. Some of them lost everything. Family, homes, dignity. And here I was, treating my own daughter like a bank. I didn't do this to punish you, I said, feeling tears prick my eyes. I did it because we were all drowning. Me trying to save everyone. You expecting to be saved. You could have just talked to us, Christine protested. Would you have listened? I asked. Or would you have called me selfish again, manipulated me with guilt until I gave in, like you always did? More silence. I hate what you did, Theo said finally, but I needed it. We all did. The funny thing is, Adeline added, I don't even care about the inheritance anymore. These kids, they need me. Really need me. Not my money, not my connections, just me. That's what Mum always tried to teach us, Dad said quietly. Service to others. Remember how she volunteered everywhere? We used to think she was wasting her time. She was the strong one, I said. I just copied her playbook. Christine stood up suddenly. I'm angry at you, Zara. For the manipulation, for the ultimatum. But I'm also grateful. And I don't know how to feel about that. Welcome to personal growth, I replied. It's messy. The shelter needs help renovating their children's playroom, Christine said after a moment. I was thinking, maybe we could all pitch in. As a family. My girls could paint a mural, Adeline offered. They're amazing artists. Some of the guys from the centre are good with construction, Dad added. I could ask them to supervise. I can handle the budget, Theo said. Make sure we get the most value for our money. I sat back, watching them plan, their excitement building. Sierra's words echoed in my mind. Maybe they needed purpose more than they needed money. One condition, I said, interrupting their planning. Whatever we do it together. No more divisions, no more keeping score. Does this mean you're speaking to us again? Adeline asked hopefully. I never stopped speaking to you, I corrected. I just stopped enabling you. There's a difference. Dad stood up, walking to where I sat. His eyes were wet. I failed you as a father. Failed all of you, really. Got so caught up in what we were entitled to, I forgot what we were capable of. We all failed each other, I said, standing to hug him. But we're fixing it now. One by one, they joined the hug until we were all tangled together, laughing and crying at the same time. So, Christine said as we finally broke apart, about that playroom renovation. I'll call Barrett, I offered. He can help with any permits we need. And Emery, Adeline added. He's good at organising projects. As they left that evening, making plans and assigning tasks, I felt something shift in the air. The old dynamics of resentment and dependency were being replaced by something new, something healthier. My phone buzzed with a message from Sierra. How did it go? I typed back. They're still mad, but they're also grateful. And maybe that's exactly where we need to be right now. Because sometimes the best families are the ones that break apart and rebuild themselves, stronger than before. The women's shelter playroom transformation was in full swing when I arrived that Saturday morning. Paint cans, drop cloths, and tools cluttered the space, but what caught my attention was my family, actually working together. Adeline stood on a ladder, directing her teenage artists as they sketched a forest scene across one wall. Their design incorporated inspiring words hidden among the trees: strength, hope, dream. "Look who finally showed up," Christine called out, roller in hand. "We started without you." "Someone had to bring coffee," I said, holding up the carrier of drinks. "Where's Theo?" "Outside with Dad and the veterans building the storage units," she replied. "They're like a well-oiled machine out there." I headed to the courtyard, where Dad was showing two teenagers how to measure wood properly while Theo calculated materials with a contractor. "No, see, if we adjust this design slightly," Theo was saying, "we can save 20% on materials without compromising quality." The contractor nodded approvingly. "You've got a good head for this, son." Dad spotted me and waved. "Perfect timing. We need another set of hands." For the next few hours, I moved between groups, painting, building, and watching my family in their element. Christine organized donations of toys and books, handling everything with the same efficiency she once applied to shopping sprees. "Maria's coming in today," she told me during a water break. "The woman I mentioned? With 3 kids." "The one who reminded you of Mum?" She nodded. "We found her a job. Administrative work at a law firm. She starts Monday." "You did that?" "We did that," she corrected. "The shelter staff and I. Turns out my networking skills are good for something besides finding the next designer sale." Inside, Adeline was sitting with her girls during their break, showing them something on her phone. "That's me at your age," she said. "All those filters, all that makeup. I thought it made me special. Now I look at it and don't even recognize myself." "But you're so pretty without all that stuff," one girl said. Adeline's smile was genuine. "Took me 30 years and a very stubborn sister to figure that out." By late afternoon, the playroom had transformed. Bright murals covered the walls, new storage units lined up neatly, and donated toys filled fresh-painted shelves. Dad and his veteran friends had even installed a reading nook with cushions. "This is incredible," the shelter director said, wiping tears. "The children, they've never had anything like this." "We're not done yet," Theo announced. "The guys from my support group, they're organizing a fundraiser, gaming tournament, all proceeds to the shelter. And my girls want to start a weekly art therapy session," Adeline added. "The veterans offered to do security upgrades," Dad said. "Free of charge." I stood back, watching them plan and organize, no one asking me for money or solutions. Sierra appeared beside me, camera in hand. She'd been documenting the day. "Still think this was about revenge?" she asked quietly. Before I could answer, a commotion at the door drew our attention. Maria, the woman Christine had mentioned, stood there with her children, their eyes wide at the transformed space. "Welcome home," Christine said warmly, leading them in. The youngest child, a girl about 6, ran straight to the reading nook. "Mommy, look, books!" Maria burst into tears. Christine hugged her while Adeline entertained the other children, showing them the mural's hidden words. Theo and Dad started explaining the new storage systems, designed specifically for families starting over. "No," I finally answered Sierra. "This was never about revenge, this was about breaking patterns. Look at them, really look." Christine, once so focused on appearances, comforting a woman in worn clothes and unwashed hair. Theo, who gambled away thousands, now proudly showing off budget-conscious designs. Adeline, teaching young girls to see their natural beauty. Dad, serving others instead of demanding service. "Your mum would have loved this," Sierra said, snapping another photo. "She did love this," I replied. "She tried to show us all along. We just weren't ready to see it." My phone buzzed. A message from Barrett. "Permits came through for the shelter's kitchen renovation. Ready when you are." I looked at my family, all engaged in their tasks, all finding their own ways to help. No one had asked me to fund the kitchen renovation. No one had demanded I fix everything. "Tell them we'll start planning next week," I typed back. "The whole family wants to help." Because that's what we'd become. Finally, truly, a family. Not bound by obligation or money, but by the simple act of helping others, and in doing so, helping ourselves. "Hey, Zara," Adeline called out. Stop standing around and come help us organize these art supplies. I smiled and joined them, just one more pair of hands in a room full of people learning to give instead of take. The 6-month mark arrived faster than any of us expected. Barrett called a meeting at his office to discuss the completion of their volunteer requirements, but my family had other plans. We want to meet at the shelter instead, Christine informed me. There's something you need to see. I arrived to find not just my immediate family, but a crowd of familiar and new faces. Maria and her children, the teenage artists, veterans from Dad's Centre, people from Theo's support group, all mingling in the shelter's newly renovated community room. Surprise! Adeline called out, pulling me inside. We're celebrating. Celebrating what? I asked, taking in the decorations and food spread. 6 months of transformation, Christine said, appearing with a folder. And we have something to show you. She opened the folder and pulled out a stack of papers. These are the shelter's statistics since we started volunteering. Successful job placements up 40%, housing placements up 50%. Theo stepped forward with his own documentation. 12 of my group members have been gambling free for 3 months or more. We've started a financial literacy program. My girls, Adeline beamed, gesturing to the teenagers who are now setting up an art display, are all passing their classes. 3 got college acceptance letters last week. Dad cleared his throat. The Veterans Centre has doubled its volunteer base. We're opening a new wing next month. What are you all saying? I asked, though I already knew. We're saying we're not stopping, Christine declared. Papers or no papers, inheritance or no inheritance, we're committed now. You can't make us quit, Theo added with a grin. We're officially addicted to helping people. Speaking of addiction, a man stepped forward, one of Theo's group members. Your brother saved my life. Literally. I was contemplating suicide when he talked me down, showed me there was hope. Maria hugged Christine. I start my management training next week. My kids are in school, we have our own apartment, and it's all because she believed in me. One of Adeline's teens spoke up. I haven't used a filter on my photos in 2 months. I like my real face now. A veteran patted Dad's shoulder. This guy reminded us we still have value. We're not forgotten soldiers anymore. I felt tears welling up as more people stepped forward, each with a story about how my family had impacted their lives. But here's the real kicker, Christine said, pulling out one final document. We've started a foundation. All of us together. The paperwork just came through. A foundation? I whispered. The Whitney Family Foundation for Community Empowerment, Theo announced proudly. We're pooling our resources, not just money, but skills, connections, time. And guess what? Adeline added. We've already received our first major donation. From Emery's company. Barrett stepped forward, more papers in hand. So, about that inheritance. Keep it, Christine interrupted. All of it. Add it to the foundation's funds. Are you sure? I asked, looking at each of them. That's a lot of money. Money we didn't earn, Dad said firmly. Money we don't need anymore. We've found something better. Besides, Theo laughed, we're all making our own money now. Christine's starting a job placement program. I'm consulting for financial literacy projects. Adeline's got her youth mentoring certification. And I'm teaching veterans how to start small businesses, Dad finished. Turns out retirement was boring anyway. Sierra, who had been quietly filming everything, spoke up. So, Zara, still think your hospital bed scheme was too harsh? I looked around the room, at my family, at the lives they'd touched, at the community they'd built. I thought I was teaching them a lesson about money. They taught me one about purpose instead. You gave us a gift, Christine said, hugging me. A kick in the pants we desperately needed. The best kind of revenge, Theo added, is watching people become better than you ever imagined they could be. Even if we hated you a little bit at first, Adeline admitted. A lot at first, Dad corrected, pulling me into a bear hug. But that's what good parents do, isn't it? Push their children to be better. You did for us what your mother would have done. The celebration continued around us, people sharing stories, making plans, building connections. My family moved through the crowd with confidence and purpose, no longer seeking validation through money or status. "So," Barrett said quietly, holding up the inheritance papers, "what should I do with these?" I watched Christine comforting a new shelter resident, Theo mentoring a young man about budgeting, Adeline leading an impromptu self-esteem workshop, and Dad sharing war stories with his veterans. "Shred them," I said. "They don't need my money anymore. They've found their own wealth." The autumn breeze carried the sound of laughter from the shelter's courtyard, where Dad and his veterans were setting up tables for the Foundation's first official fundraising gala. Christine darted around with her clipboard, directing caterers and volunteers with the same intensity she once reserved for shopping sprees. "The mayor's confirmed," she announced, pausing beside me, "and 3 city council members." "Remember when you used to get this excited about sample sales?" I teased. She rolled her eyes. "Don't remind me. Maria's handling the guest list, by the way. She's amazing at organization." "Speaking of amazing," Theo called out, jogging over with his phone, "the online donations just hit 6 figures. The gaming tournament was a huge success." Inside, Adeline and her girls were putting final touches on an art installation, photographs and stories of lives transformed through the Foundation's work. No filters, no pretense, just raw humanity. "Look who clean up nice," Sierra said, filming as the teens emerged from the shelter's new career closet in professional attire. They'd be serving as hosts tonight, sharing their stories with potential donors. "My daughter got her first job interview tomorrow," Maria told me proudly, adjusting one girl's blazer. "Christine's been coaching her." The shelter director pulled me aside, tears in her eyes. "When your family first started volunteering, I thought it was just rich people doing community service for show." "I've never been happier to be wrong." Dad appeared, looking dapper in his suit. "The veterans brought extra chairs, though I think they're really here for the food." "Better than military rations," one of them shouted, making everyone laugh. Barrett and Emery arrived early, carrying boxes of promotional materials for the Foundation. "Wait until you see the video Sierra edited," Barrett said. "There won't be a dry eye in the house." As evening fell and guests began arriving, I watched my family work the room. Christine introduced Maria to potential employers, her networking skills now serving a greater purpose. Theo shared success stories from his financial literacy program, while Adeline's teens proudly showed off their art and achievements. Dad stood with his veterans explaining their business mentorship program to impressed investors. "These men and women sacrificed everything for our country," he said. "The least we can do is help them rebuild their lives." "Quite a change from the family that used to beg you for money," Sierra observed, capturing everything on camera. Before I could respond, the mayor stepped up to the microphone. "I've seen many community initiatives in my career, but the Whitney Family Foundation is unique. It's not just about throwing money at problems. It's about personal investment, about transformation from within." Christine took the stage next. "6 months ago, my sister Zara taught us a hard lesson about privilege and responsibility. She forced us to confront our own failures and find purpose beyond wealth. Tonight, we're not asking for handouts. We're offering partnership in changing lives." Theo followed with statistics about their impact. Jobs created, homes secured, addictions overcome. Adeline's girls shared their journeys from insecurity to confidence. Dad introduced veterans who'd started successful businesses. "None of this would have happened," Christine concluded, "if our sister hadn't had the courage to push us off our pedestals. We thought she was punishing us. Instead, she gave us the greatest gift possible, the chance to become better people." The applause was thunderous. Donations poured in. But what moved me most was watching my family throughout the evening. Christine mentoring Maria's daughter, Theo counseling a young man about gambling temptation, Adeline encouraging a shy teen to share her artwork, Dad proudly introducing his veterans to business contacts. As the event wound down, we gathered in the playroom we'd renovated together, the place where our transformation had really begun. "Remember when we thought this was just about inheritance?" Theo laughed. "Remember when we hated Zara for manipulating us?" Adeline added. "Remember when we thought money was the only way to measure success?" Christine mused. Dad pulled me into a hug. "Remember when I said your mother would be ashamed?" I was wrong. She's probably up there right now saying, "I told you so." Sierra lowered her camera. So was it worth it? The hospital stay, the tough love, the risk of losing your family? I looked around the room, at Christine and Maria planning their next job fair, at Theo teaching budgeting to shelter residents, at Adeline removing the last traces of her Instagram influencer life, at Dad finally being the leader he was meant to be. I didn't lose my family, I said. I found them. We all did. Because sometimes the greatest act of love isn't giving people what they want, it's giving them what they need to become who they're meant to be. And sometimes, the sweetest revenge is watching that transformation unfold, one changed life at a time.
The text message glared at me from my phone screen. "Sis, I need you. It's life or death this time. I mean it. My name is Sloan, and I hadn't spoken to my brother Tom in 3 years. Not since that Christmas dinner when everything fell apart. The last image I had of him was his disappointed face as I walked out of our family home, vowing never to return. My phone buzzed again. This time it was Vanessa. "Have you heard about Tom?" she asked when I picked up. "Just got his text. What's going on?" "It's all over Facebook. He's in the hospital. Kidney failure. They're saying he needs a transplant." My stomach dropped. "That's impossible. He's only 34. Your mom's been trying to reach you." I glanced at my blocked calls list. 15 missed calls from Mom. "I can't deal with this right now," I said, pacing my apartment. "I have a deadline for tomorrow's story about Sloan." Vanessa cut me off. "This isn't another corrupt politician or corporate scandal you can investigate from a safe distance. This is your brother. Half-brother," I corrected automatically, immediately hating myself for it. "You need to call your mom back." I hung up and stared at my reflection in the window. The city lights flickered behind my image, reminding me of camera flashes from my first big story. The one that made my father disown me. My phone rang again. This time it was Addison, my editor. "Whatever story you're working on, drop it," she said before I could speak. "Family emergency trumps deadline. How did you— small-town news travels fast. Go see your brother." I sat down at my desk, pulling up Tom's social media. His latest post was from 3 days ago. "Starting dialysis today. Keeping the faith." The comments section overflowed with prayers and well wishes. My hands shook as I unblocked my mom's number. She answered on the first ring. "Sloan, baby, is that you?" "Hi, Mom." My voice cracked. "Thank God, we've been trying to reach you. Your brother." "I know. Facebook. He needs you, honey. We all do. The doctors say family members are the best chance for a match." I closed my eyes, remembering the last time Tom needed me. I was 17. He was 23. He'd gotten into trouble with gambling debts. I'd given him my college savings, made him promise to change. 2 months later, he lost it all again. "I can't just drop everything and come home," I said. "Your father's different now," Mom said, reading my mind as usual. "After your article about the mayor's corruption, he understood why you did it. He's proud of you, even if he won't say it." I laughed bitterly. "Right. That's why he told every newspaper in town that his daughter was dead to him. People change, Sloan. Sometimes it takes a crisis to—" My phone beeped with another incoming call. "Tom. I have to go, Mom. I'll think about it." I switched calls. "Tom. Hey, troublemaker." His voice was weak, but he still managed that annoying big brother tone. "Guess you heard about my grand finale." "Don't talk like that." "Why not? You're the one who always said I was dramatic." He coughed. "Listen, I know things are messed up between us, but I need my little sister right now, not the hotshot journalist, just my sister." "I can't deal with Dad," I said. "Then deal with me. I'm the one dying here." The word hit me like a slap. Dying. My brother was dying. "The doctors say family members are the best match," he continued. "Mom's not compatible. Dad's too old. You're my best shot, Sloan." I looked at the framed article on my wall. My first big exposé. The story that made my career and destroyed my family. My father's face in the courthouse. Betrayal in his eyes as I testified against his friend, the mayor. When's the testing? I heard myself ask. Tomorrow morning. Hospital's running special sessions for family members. I grabbed my laptop, pulling up flight schedules. Text me the details. I'll be there. Sloan? His voice softened. Thank you. After hanging up, I called Addison back. I need a week off. Take 2, she said. And Sloan? Remember what I taught you about investigating stories. Follow the facts, not the emotions. No. The other thing. Sometimes the biggest stories are the ones closest to home. I booked the first flight out, then sat in the dark, watching the city lights. Tomorrow I'd face my family again. Tomorrow I'd walk back into the web of lies and manipulation I'd spent 3 years escaping. But tonight, I had a story to write. Not about corrupt politicians or corporate scandals. About a sister and a brother, and the thin line between love and resentment. My phone buzzed one last time. A text from my father. Coming home at last. Some things never change. I turned off my phone and started packing. The familiar crunch of gravel under my rental car's tires sent chills down my spine. Our family's Victorian-style house loomed ahead, exactly as I remembered it. Pristine white paint, perfectly manicured lawn, and those suffocating rose bushes Mom always obsessed over. I hadn't even turned off the engine when Mom burst through the front door, practically running down the steps. She looked older, grayer, but her arms felt the same when she wrapped them around me through the car window. You're here, she whispered, her voice breaking. You're really here. Had to come, Mom. I tried to smile, but my face felt stiff. Where's Tom? At the hospital for dialysis. Your father's with him. She stepped back, wiping her eyes. Come inside. You must be exhausted from the flight. The house smelled like cinnamon and coffee. Mom's stress-baking scent. Fresh cookies sat on the kitchen counter, beside a stack of medical papers and insurance forms. Coffee? Mom asked, already reaching for my old favorite mug. Actually, I need to use Dad's office. Check some emails. Her hand froze mid-reach. Sloan. Just emails, Mom. I'm not investigating anything. She sighed. The office is exactly as you remember it. Your father never changes anything. I climbed the familiar stairs to the second floor. Passing family photos I'd rather forget. There I was at graduation, before everything fell apart. Tom at his college graduation. Dad's proud arm around his shoulders. The last family Christmas photo, taken months before I exposed the mayor's scandal. Dad's office door was unlocked. The heavy mahogany desk dominated the room, its surface meticulously organized. I ran my fingers along the edge, remembering how many times I'd stood here as a child, receiving lectures about family loyalty and proper behavior. The desk drawer stuck slightly. It always had. Inside, everything was arranged with military precision. Pens, paper clips, stamps. But something caught my eye. A corner of yellowed paper, peeking out from beneath a stack of files. What are you doing? I jumped. Dad stood in the doorway, his frame blocking the light from the hallway. He'd lost weight, but his presence still filled the room. Checking emails, I said, closing the drawer quickly. Hospital stuff. He stepped into the room, his footsteps heavy on the hardwood floor. 3 years, Sloan. 3 years without a word. You told me not to come back. And when did you ever listen to what I told you? A hint of a smile played at his lips, but his eyes remained cold. Your brother's waiting at the hospital, ready to be tested. That's why I'm here. Is it? He moved to his desk, straightening papers that were already straight. Not working on another story. Dad, don't. Because the last time I came home, I discovered your best friend was embezzling millions from the city. My voice echoed in the small room. You knew about it and did nothing. I protected this family. You protected your reputation. Enough. Mom appeared in the doorway, her face flushed. Tom needs us, all of us. Can we please just focus on that? Dad straightened his tie, a nervous habit I'd forgotten about. The car's outside. We should get to the hospital. The drive was silent. I sat in the back seat like a teenager, watching familiar streets roll by. The hospital loomed ahead, a concrete monster swallowing people whole. Tom's room was on the 4th floor. He looked small in the hospital bed, tubes snaking from his arms. His face lit up when he saw me. Still wearing that ratty leather jacket, I see, he said weakly. I touched the sleeve self-consciously. Still making bad jokes, I see. Some things never change. He tried to sit up, wincing. Did you get the testing paperwork? Mom handed me a thick envelope. The nurse will be here soon. I started reading through the forms, my journalist's eye catching on details. Blood type requirements, genetic markers, compatibility factors. Something wasn't adding up. Dad, I said slowly, why aren't you being tested? Age isn't a complete disqualifier for kidney donation. The room went silent. Mom suddenly became very interested in adjusting Tom's pillows. Medical reasons, Dad said shortly. Private ones. What medical reasons? Drop it, Sloan. His voice carried that familiar warning tone, but I couldn't drop it. Something about his reaction, Mom's nervous movements, the way Tom wouldn't meet my eyes. My reporter's instincts were screaming. A nurse entered, breaking the tension. Ready for testing, Miss O'Connor? Yes, I said, still watching my father. Very ready. As I followed the nurse out, I glanced back. Dad was at the window, his reflection fractured in the glass. Mom was holding Tom's hand, whispering something I couldn't hear. That yellowed paper in Dad's drawer nagged at my mind. Whatever it was, whatever he was hiding, I would find out. Some things never change, indeed. After the blood tests, I waited until everyone was asleep. The house creaked familiarly as I crept down the hallway to Dad's office, flashlight in hand. My heart pounded as I eased open the desk drawer. The yellowed paper was still there, buried beneath tax forms and insurance documents. As I pulled it out, my phone buzzed. A text from Vanessa. How's it going? Can't talk. Investigating. I typed back. Of course you are. Be careful. I unfolded the paper carefully. It was a letter, dated 35 years ago. The first line made my blood run cold. Dear Kirk, I know the baby isn't yours. My hands shook as I read further. The letter was from someone named Maria, talking about an arrangement, money changing hands, a baby boy named Talon. The final paragraph hit like a punch to the gut. I know you and Selena will give him a good home. Please just let me see him sometimes, as we agreed. Find what you're looking for? I spun around. Mom stood in the doorway, her silhouette ghostly in her white nightgown. Mom, what is this? I held up the letter. Who's Talon? She closed the door behind her, hands trembling as she switched on the desk lamp. You were always too clever for your own good, just like your father. Don't deflect. This letter is Tom adopted. Sit down, Sloan. She sank into Dad's leather chair. It's more complicated than that. Then explain it to me. She took a shaky breath. Your father, he had an affair. Before you were born. With Maria, Tom's biological mother. Mom nodded. When she got pregnant, your father paid her to disappear. We took the baby, changed his name to Thomas. No one ever knew. Except you? I couldn't have children then. We'd been trying for years. Her voice cracked. Your father said it was the perfect solution. His mistake could become our miracle. And then you had me. 2 years later, the doctors called it a medical miracle. She laughed bitterly. Your father was so proud. His real child, he called you, though he never said it in front of Tom. My mind raced. Does Tom know? No one knows except your father, Maria, and me. She reached for my hand. And now you. I pulled away. That's why Dad won't get tested. He's not Tom's biological father. Sloan, please. Your father will destroy me if he knows I told you. Destroy you? Like he destroyed Maria. Where is she now? Mom looked away. I don't know. The agreement was that she'd never contact us. Agreement? I spat the word. You mean the payoff? We gave her son a good life. You stole her baby. The door opened. Tom stood there, pale as the hospital sheets he'd left behind. Who stole whose baby? The letter crumpled in my fist. Mom went white. "Tom, you should be resting," she stammered. I came down for water, his eyes fixed on the paper in my hand. "What's going on?" The silence stretched like a rubber band about to snap. I looked at Mom, but she was frozen, staring at her hands. "Your name is Talon," I said finally, "and Dad isn't your biological father." Tom, Talon, gripped the doorframe. "What?" I held out the letter. He read it slowly, his face changing from confusion to shock to something darker. "All this time," he whispered. "All those stories about how I was your miracle baby." "You were," Mom pleaded. "You are. Stop lying." He slammed his hand against the wall. "My whole life is a lie. Even my name." "Keep your voice down," Mom hissed. "Your father, he's not my father." Tom's legs buckled. I rushed to catch him as he sagged against the wall. "You need to be in bed," I said, supporting his weight. "You're still weak from dialysis." "How can you be so calm?" he demanded. "Did you know about this?" "I just found out tonight." He laughed, a horrible broken sound. The great investigative journalist finally found a story worth telling. "Tom, no. That's not my name." He pushed away from me, stumbling toward the stairs. "I need to get out of here." "Wait," Mom called, but he was already halfway down the stairs. I heard the front door slam, then the sound of his car starting. "We have to go after him," Mom said, reaching for her keys. "No," I blocked her path. "You've done enough. I'll find him. Sloan. And when I get back, you're going to tell me everything. About Maria, about the money, about all of it. No more lies." I grabbed my jacket and car keys, my mind already mapping the places he might go. Behind me, Mom called out one last time. "What are you going to do?" I turned back, seeing her clearly for the first time. Not as my mother, but as a woman who'd lived with this secret for 35 years. "I'm going to find my brother," I said. "And then I'm going to find his mother." I found Tom at the old baseball field where he used to coach Little League. He sat in the dugout, the letter crumpled in his hands, staring at nothing. "You shouldn't be out here," I said, sitting beside him. "It's freezing." 35 years, he muttered. 35 years of lies. I pulled out my phone, opened my notes app. "Mom told me some things about Maria." "Don't." He closed his eyes. "Don't make this into one of your stories. This isn't about a story. This is about finding your mother." "I have a mother," his voice cracked. "The one who just admitted to buying me." My phone buzzed, a text from Dad. "Where is he?" I ignored it. "Want to know what I found out already?" Tom stayed silent, but his hands stopped shaking. "Dad paid Maria $50,000 in 1988. That's almost $120,000 in today's money." I scrolled through my notes. He set up a trust fund in her name, but the payments stopped in 1995. "How do you know all this?" "I have sources at the bank. Called in some favors while driving around looking for you." He laughed hollowly. "Always the investigator." "There's more." I hesitated. "The last known address for Maria was in Seattle. She worked as a nurse there until 2010. Tom's head snapped up. "She was a nurse?" "Still is, according to my sources. Moved to Portland a few years ago." "Stop." He stood up suddenly, swaying. I can't process this." "Tom, that's not my name." He hurled the crumpled letter across the dugout. "God, I don't even know who I am anymore." My phone buzzed again. "Dad, your mother is hysterical. Bring him home now." "You're my brother," I said firmly. "That hasn't changed, hasn't it?" He turned to face me. "Half-brother, remember? That's what you always said." "Guess you were more right than you knew." Before I could respond, headlights swept across the dugout. Dad's Mercedes pulled up to the field. "Great," Tom muttered. "The man who bought me is here." Dad strode across the field, his expensive shoes inappropriate for the muddy grass. "Get in the car, both of you, now." "Or what?" Tom challenged. "You'll buy another son?" Dad's face went white. "Your mother told you." "No, your daughter did. The one you're actually related to." "I raised you," You owned me. Tom's voice echoed across the empty field. How much was I worth, Dad? 50,000. Was that the going rate for a baby in 1988? You're sick, Dad said, his voice controlled. You need to be in the hospital. I need the truth. Tom stepped forward, stumbling. I caught his arm. Where is she? Where's my real mother? I am your real father, Dad growled. I changed your diapers, taught you to ride a bike, paid for your college. Paid for everything, didn't you? That's your solution to everything. Throw money at it until it goes away. Dad's face hardened. Get in the car, both of you. We'll discuss this at home. No, I stepped between them. We're discussing it now. Why did the payments to Maria stop in 95? Dad's expression flickered. You've been investigating. It's what I do. Remember, the thing you disowned me for. She broke the agreement, Dad said finally. Tried to contact Tom, sent birthday cards, photos. Tom swayed again, harder this time. His face was pale, sweating despite the cold. Tom, I grabbed his arm. Hey, look at me. I don't. His eyes rolled back. Don't feel. He collapsed. Dad and I caught him before he hit the ground. Call an ambulance, Dad shouted, already pulling out his phone. In the chaos that followed, ambulance sirens, emergency room lights, doctors rushing past, I slipped away to make a call. Addison, I need a favor, a big one. At midnight? My editor sounded wide awake despite the hour. Must be good. I need you to find someone. A nurse in Portland named Maria. She'll be in her 50s now. This about your brother? How did you? Small town, remember. Words getting around about some drama at the hospital today. I watched through the ER window as doctors worked on Tom. Dad paced the hallway, making calls. Mom sat in a plastic chair, looking small and lost. This isn't for a story, I said. It's for my brother. Half-brother. No. I pressed my hand against the cold window glass. Just my brother. Send me what you have. I'll make some calls. I hung up as a doctor approached Dad. Their conversation was intense, with Dad shaking his head repeatedly. What's wrong? I asked when the doctor left. Dad's face was ashen. The kidney damage. It's genetic. Something called polycystic kidney disease. Runs in families. In Maria's family, I said slowly. We need to find her, Dad admitted. She might be a match. I pulled out my phone, showing him Addison's text. Found her. You're not going to believe where she is. Where? Working as a transplant coordinator at this hospital. The hospital cafeteria was empty at 3 a.m., except for a woman sitting alone, staring into a coffee cup. Her dark hair was streaked with gray, her scrubs wrinkled from a long shift. When she looked up, I saw Tom's eyes staring back at me. Maria, she didn't seem surprised. I wondered when you'd find me, Sloan. You know who I am. I've read all your articles. She gestured to the chair across from her. I've kept track of both my children. I sat down, my reporter's instincts warring with my personal feelings. Both. Talon and you. She smiled sadly. Though he goes by Tom now. How long have you been working here? 6 months. She twisted her coffee cup. When I saw his name come up on the transplant list, I requested a transfer. Your father doesn't know. Did you know about his condition? The polycystic kidney disease. It runs in my family. I've been tested. I'm a match. Her hands shook slightly. But I couldn't just walk into his room and announce myself. The agreement with your father. Screw the agreement. I slapped the table, making her jump. He's dying. I know. Tears filled her eyes. Why do you think I'm here? I've been watching him, checking his charts, making sure he gets the best care. From the shadows, like some kind of ghost. What choice did I have? She pulled out her wallet, removed a worn photo. This is the last picture I have of him. His 5th birthday. I took it from far away, at the park. I recognized the playground. Tom on the swings, Mom pushing him, Dad watching proudly. They gave him a good life, Maria said softly. They bought him, like property. Your father gave me a choice, money to start over, or a legal battle I couldn't afford to fight. She met my eyes. I was 22, single, working minimum wage. He was a powerful man with expensive lawyers. My phone buzzed. A text from Vanessa. How's Tom? Stable, I typed back. Found his birth mother, working on a story. Don't you dare, Vanessa replied immediately. This isn't news, it's family. I looked at Maria, really looked at her. The same stubborn chin as Tom. The same expressive eyes. 35 years of watching her son grow up from a distance. He knows about you, I said. She went still. How? I found the letter. In Dad's office. Oh God. She pressed her hands to her mouth. How did he? He collapsed. That's why he's here now. I leaned forward. He needs you, Maria. Not as a secret donor, but as his mother. Your father will never allow it. My father doesn't get to decide anymore. I stood up. Come with me. Where? To see your son. We took the elevator to the 4th floor. Outside Tom's room, Dad was arguing with a doctor. We can't wait for the donor list, Dad was saying. There has to be another option. There is. I stepped forward, Maria beside me. Meet your son's donor. Dad turned, his face draining of color. Maria. Hello, Kirk. Her voice was steady, but I saw her hands trembling. It's been a while. You can't be here. The agreement is void. I cut in. Unless you want me to write about how you illegally bought a baby 35 years ago. You wouldn't dare. Try me. Mom appeared in the doorway, took in the scene. Maria, oh my God. Selena. Maria nodded stiffly. How's our son? Mom flinched at the hour. He's awake, she said quietly. Asking for Sloan. I took Maria's arm. Perfect timing. Wait. Dad stepped forward. You can't just… Watch me. I pushed past him, leading Maria into the room. Tom lay in the hospital bed, looking pale but alert. His eyes widened when he saw us. Tom, I said softly, there's someone you need to meet. Maria stepped forward, tears streaming down her face. Hello, Talon. Tom stared at her for a long moment. Your mother, your birth mother. She touched her face. You have my eyes. And my kidney disease, apparently. She laughed through her tears. Yes, that too. I'm so sorry. Don't be. He reached for her hand. Just tell me everything, please. I backed toward the door, giving them privacy. In the hallway, Dad grabbed my arm. You've gone too far this time. I yanked free. No, Dad. You did the 35 years ago. I'm just fixing your mistake. By destroying this family. By saving it. I pulled out my phone, showed him the draft email to my editor. Your choice. Let them have this moment, or I send this story to every newspaper in the country. He stared at the screen, then at me. For the first time in my life, I saw fear in his eyes. You really would do it, wouldn't you? In a heartbeat. I glanced back at Tom and Maria, deep in conversation. But I don't think I'll have to. You're really going through with this? Vanessa asked, watching me type furiously on my laptop. 3 days had passed since Maria's revelation, and I hadn't left the hospital except to shower and change clothes. The story needs to be told, I said, not looking up. Dad's been making calls, trying to bury it. 2 reporters already backed off after anonymous threats. But it's your family. Exactly. I turned the laptop to show her the draft. Read it. She scanned the first paragraph. In 1988, a prominent local businessman paid $50,000 to purchase a baby boy. Today, that same man sits on the hospital board that may determine whether his illegally adopted son receives a life-saving kidney transplant. Sloan. Vanessa pushed the laptop away. This will destroy your father. He destroyed himself. I hit save. Besides, I'm not publishing it yet. It's insurance. A knock at the door made us both jump. Addison walked in, holding a thick folder. Got what you asked for, she said, dropping it on the bed. Financial records, property transfers, everything from 1988 to now. Your father's been busy covering his tracks. I opened the folder. How bad? Bad enough to end his career, maybe earn him some jail time. She sat on the edge of the bed. You sure about this? Before I could answer, Tom appeared in the doorway, leaning on an IV stand. He looked better than he had in days. Family meeting in my room, he said. Dad's lawyer is here. I grabbed my laptop and the folder. This should be interesting. Tom's hospital room was crowded. Dad and his lawyer stood by the window. Mom sat in the corner chair, and Maria perched on the edge of Tom's bed. The tension was thick enough to cut with a scalpel. Before we begin, the lawyer said, pulling out some papers, I need everyone to sign these non-disclosure agreements. I laughed. Not happening. Sloan, Dad warned. No. I opened my laptop. Either we do this honestly, or my story goes live in every major newspaper by tonight. The lawyer frowned. Miss O'Connor, that would be inadvisable. What's inadvisable, I cut in, is thinking you can silence the truth with legal documents. The truth. Dad stepped forward. You want the truth? I saved that boy's life. His mother couldn't provide for him. I could have tried. Maria stood up. You never gave me the chance. You took money instead. Because you threatened to destroy me if I didn't. Stop it. Tom's voice cracked through the room. All of you, just stop. Everyone fell silent. Tom struggled to sit up straighter. I've made a decision, he said. About the transplant. Dad moved closer. Son, don't call me that. Tom held up a hand. Maria's a match. She's willing to donate, but I'll only accept on one condition. Anything, Dad said quickly. The truth comes out, all of it. Tom looked at me. Sloan publishes her story. That's impossible, the lawyer interjected. The legal ramifications are exactly what you deserve, I said, opening the folder Addison brought. Wire transfers, fake adoption papers, bribes to officials. Want me to continue? Dad's face had gone gray. You'd destroy everything I built. Your own father. You're not my father, Tom said quietly. You're the man who bought me. There's a difference. Mom stood up suddenly. I have something to add to your story, Sloan. Selena, don't, Dad pleaded. There were others, she said, her voice shaking. Other babies, other mothers. I saw the papers, years ago. Kirk didn't just buy Tom. He ran a network. The room went deadly quiet. Even the lawyer looked shocked. How many? I whispered, fingers hovering over my keyboard. At least 6 that I know of. Mom wouldn't look at Dad. All between 1985 and 1990. You knew. Dad's voice was barely audible. All this time, I knew everything. She finally met his eyes. Every lie, every payoff, every threatened mother. I kept quiet to protect our family, but this is protecting no one. I was already typing, my journalist's mind racing. I'll need names, dates. You'll have them, Mom said. All of them. The lawyer was gathering his papers, backing toward the door. I think we need to reconvene when everyone is calmer. Sit down, Tom and I said, simultaneously. He sat. Here's what's going to happen, I said, still typing. Dad, you're going to make a full confession. Names, dates, everything. Mom and Maria will corroborate. In return, I'll emphasize in the story that you're cooperating fully with authorities. And if I refuse, then I publish what I have now, and you face the consequences alone. Dad looked around the room, at Mom's determined face, at Maria's quiet strength, at Tom's unwavering stare, at my fingers poised over the keyboard. When did you become so ruthless? He asked softly. I met his eyes. I learned from the best. He sat heavily in the chair by Tom's bed. Where do you want me to start? The beginning, Tom said. Start with the truth. The story broke on a Tuesday morning. By Wednesday, our front lawn was crowded with news vans and reporters. I watched from Tom's hospital room as Dad was led out of his office in handcuffs, the scene playing live on the small TV mounted on the wall. Turn it off, Tom said, but he couldn't look away either. The reporter's voice filled the room. Local businessman arrested in connection with illegal adoption ring. Sources say at least 12 families were affected. Maria muted the TV. The other mothers are coming forward. 3 have already contacted the police. Good, I said, checking my phone. Addison says the story's gone national. Every major network wants interviews. With Dad? Tom asked. With us, all of us. I looked at Maria. Especially you. She shook her head. I can't. The transplant surgery is tomorrow. We need to focus on that. The door opened and Mom walked in, looking exhausted. She'd aged years in the past week. They're searching the house, she said, sinking into a chair. Found more documents in the safe. Names, birth certificates. God, Kirk, what were you thinking? He wasn't thinking about the families, Maria said quietly. Only about the money. A nurse came in to check Tom's vitals. Looking good for tomorrow, she said cheerfully, ignoring the tension in the room. Both donor and recipient are in excellent condition. Thanks, Sarah. Tom managed a smile. After she left, Mom turned to Maria. Are you sure about this? The donation? After everything? He's my son. Maria took Tom's hand. I've missed 35 years. I won't miss this chance to help him. My phone buzzed. A text from Dad's number, but sent by his lawyer. Your father wants to see you both. Before tomorrow's surgery. No, Tom said immediately. He's at the county jail, I read. Says he needs to tell us something important. More lies? Maybe we should hear him out, Mom suggested. For closure, if nothing else. 2 hours later, Tom and I sat across from Dad in the jail's visiting room. He wore an orange jumpsuit instead of his usual tailored suit, but his posture was still rigid, controlled. You look terrible, he said to Tom. Kidney failure will do that. Dad flinched. The other families, they're being notified? By the police, I said, though most of them probably saw it on the news. Good. He straightened his shoulders. There's something else you need to know about the money. The bribes? I pulled out my notebook. No, the trust funds. He leaned forward. I set one up for each child, including you, Tom. The original 50,000, plus interest. It's been gathering dust for 35 years. Tom's face hardened. Blood money. It's yours. Both the fund and my share of the company. I signed everything over this morning. I don't want it. Then give it to charity, set up a foundation for the other families. I don't care. Dad's composure cracked slightly. I need to know I did one thing right. One thing right? Tom's voice rose. You stole babies from their mothers. You destroyed families. I gave them better lives. You played God. Tom stood up, swaying slightly. I grabbed his arm to steady him. Tomorrow, my real mother is giving me her kidney. Not because she bought me, but because she loves me. Do you even know what that means? Dad's face crumpled. For the first time in my life, I saw him cry. I thought I was helping, he whispered. I thought money could fix everything. It can't fix this, I said. But the truth might help. The truth? He laughed bitterly. The truth is, I loved you both, in my own twisted way, even if I didn't deserve to. Tom turned away. We should go. Surgery's early tomorrow. Wait. Dad pressed his hand against the glass partition. Tom, Talon, whatever name you choose, I'm sorry for everything. Tom paused at the door. Save your apologies for the other families. They deserve them more than I do. Back at the hospital, Maria was waiting with Mom. They'd been looking at old photos. Maria's secret collection of Tom growing up, taken from afar. How did it go? Mom asked. He apologized, I said. Too little, too late, Tom added, but his voice was tired rather than angry. Maria helped him back into bed. You need to rest. Big day tomorrow. As she fussed with his pillows, I saw Tom watching her with a mix of wonder and sadness. 35 years of lost moments, compressed into these few precious days. Hey, he said suddenly. After the surgery, would it be okay if I tried calling you Mom? Maria's hands froze. Tears spilled down her cheeks. I'd like that, she whispered. I'd like that very much. Mom slipped out of the room quietly. I followed her to the hallway, where she leaned against the wall, shoulders shaking. It's okay, I said, hugging her. You're still his mom, too. She wiped her eyes. I know. We all have to learn to share now, even love. Inside the room, I could hear Tom and Maria laughing about something. It sounded like healing. The surgery was successful, Dr. Roberts announced to our anxious group in the waiting room. Both patients are in recovery. Mom collapsed into her chair, while Vanessa hugged me tight. Through the recovery room window, I could see Tom and Maria in adjacent beds, both groggy but alive. Maria's kidney function is excellent, the doctor continued, and Tom's body is accepting the transplant well. We'll monitor them closely, but I'm optimistic. I pulled out my phone, opened my email. The final draft of my story waited in the outbox, ready to be sent to Addison. But something felt unfinished. I need to add something, I told Vanessa. Watch them for me? In the hospital cafeteria, I rewrote the ending. Not about Dad's arrest or the other families coming forward, though that was important. Instead, I wrote about Maria's gift, about how love could heal what money had broken. My phone buzzed with a text from an unknown number, one of the other mothers, asking to meet, then another and another. What are you going to do? Vanessa asked, reading over my shoulder. Help them find each other, I said, all of them. Back in recovery, Tom was awake enough to smile. Did it work? Perfect match, I said, squeezing his hand. Just like the DNA test proved. Maria stirred in the next bed. How's my boy? Your kidney's working great, Mom, Tom said. The word came naturally now. Mom appeared in the doorway with coffee and a newspaper. The headline read, "Local adoption scandal leads to national investigation." They're calling it the biggest adoption fraud case in state history, she said, handing me the paper. Your story did that. Our story, I corrected. We all told the truth finally. Not all of us, Tom said quietly. Dad still hasn't named all the families. He will. I showed them my phone. These mothers who are reaching out? They're not angry anymore. They just want to know their children are okay. Like I was, Maria said softly. All those years, just wanting to know you were happy. A nurse came in with medication. As she checked their IVs, Tom reached for both Mom's and Maria's hands. I've been thinking, he said, about names. Oh? Maria tried to sit up straighter. I want to keep Tom. It's who I've been my whole life. He squeezed their hands. But maybe Talon could be my middle name. Tom Talon. Mom tested it out. It's strong. Like both sides of who I am, he said. My phone buzzed again. Addison. Final draft? I looked at my family, all of them, complicated and messy, and healing, and typed back, almost, need to add one more thing. The nurse left, and Maria turned to Mom. Thank you, she said, for giving him a good life when I couldn't. Thank you for giving him life twice, Mom replied. Once then, once now. I added their words to my story, then a final paragraph. The truth isn't always simple. Sometimes it has many mothers, many names, many versions. But when we finally face it, when we let it heal instead of hurt, it can build something stronger than any lie. Send it, Tom said, reading over my shoulder. I hit send, then put my phone away. Outside the window, the sun was rising. A new day, a new kidney, a new truth. So what happens now? Vanessa asked. Now? I smiled at my brother, my whole healing brother with 2 mothers and 2 names. Now we become the family we always should have been. Plus about 12 other families, Tom added, referring to Dad's other victims. The more the better, Maria said. I've waited 35 years for a family reunion. Speaking of reunions, Mom pulled out her phone. 3 more mothers called. They want to meet their children. Good, I said, because I have an idea. Tom groaned. Here we go. A foundation, I continued, using Dad's money, to help separated families find each other, to make something good from something terrible. The Truth Project, Maria suggested. Perfect. I reached for my laptop. Let's start now. After rest, the nurse said firmly, returning to shoo us out. We left Tom and Maria to sleep, their matching hospital bracelets catching the morning light. In the hallway, Mom stopped me. "You did good, Sloan," she said. "You broke the story, but you also helped fix what was broken." "We all did," I said, "by telling the truth." My phone buzzed one last time. A message from Dad's lawyer. He's ready to talk about all of them. I showed the message to Mom. She nodded. "Go," she said. "There are more families waiting for their truth." I headed for the elevator, but not before looking back one more time. Through the window, I could see Tom and Maria sleeping peacefully, connected by more than just a kidney now, connected by truth, by choice, by love. That was the real story, and it was just beginning.